John died and woke up in DC. That's a good thing, right? One would expect a cheat or some kind of power, then the usual. Become a hero or a villain, kick some ass, and get some girls. Well, not so much when you wake up in Kahndaq, of all places, as an expendable mind slave with no power or cheat. But one fateful day, on the brink of death, John noticed an old staff lying on the ground within reach. He heard a whisper. "Say my name." Follow John's journey as he suffers, fights back, and finally tries to find a balance in his unusual life with Harley Quinn and Maureen. Maybe some more along the way. Hello, everyone. Omni Sensei here with What If I Was Reborn as Black Adam? Part 1. If you enjoy this content, smash the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to check out the original story linked in the description.
Hee hee heh. Ah ha 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 ha. It started with a laugh. Not a joke, not even a punchline. Just a laugh echoing in the dark, twisted, and poisoned mind of the Joker. He had always wanted to break Batman, but he realized the true power of destruction didn't lie in Gotham. It lay with the gods. So he changed his approach. He got his hands on something new. Chemicals mixed with kryptonite dust and magic. Deadly, mind-bending stuff. He didn't want to kill Superman or Billy Batson. He wanted to bend them, make them break themselves. Superman came home one night to Lois and John. Everything felt off. The air smelled wrong. He blinked, and the living room shifted. His mind warped. Shadows moved like people, and people looked like monsters. In that twisted vision, Lois became Doomsday. John screamed, and Superman heard the sound of General Zod. Billy was no better. He thought his foster family were demons sent to drag him into hell. In a frenzy, powered by SHAZAM's might and Joker's madness, he struck them down one by one. Mary tried to stop him. Freddy begged. Darla cried. But Billy only saw monsters, not his siblings. By the time the drug wore off, it was already over. Superman stood in a pool of blood, his wife and son lifeless in his arms. Billy dropped to his knees in a ruined house, surrounded by bodies that still held love in their eyes, even in death. Hee hee hee. The show has already started. Joker laughed. He didn't get to laugh long. Superman found him. No questions. No warnings. He flew straight through Arkham, dragged Joker out, and tore his heart from his chest with one hand. But the damage was done. That day, Superman and SHAZAM made a choice. No more mercy. No more holding back. Batman's no-kill rule? Gone. They believed if they had been harder and stricter, their families would still be alive. They blamed crime. They blamed chaos. They blamed the system that let criminals walk free. They blamed Batman for his no-killing rule. So they started wiping it all out. First, the world cheered. Supervillains were dying one after another. Lex Luthor's tower exploded with him in it. Black Adam's bones turned to dust in the desert. Deathstroke was found crucified on a skyscraper. Harley Quinn, Boomerang, King Shark, the League of Assassins, and many other villains were annihilated. The crime rate dropped to 0. But it didn't stop there. The two of them decided Earth needed order. A rule of power. Their rule. A world where no one would ever hurt again. Not because they wouldn't want to, but because they wouldn't be allowed to. And so the gods took the throne. They created enforcers. Robots powered by magic and solar energy. Cities were turned into military zones. Curfews. Surveillance. Fear. People obeyed. They had no choice. The Justice League met in secret. Batman led them. Diana, Arthur, John, Hal, and Barry. They all agreed. Superman and SHAZAM had gone too far. It was no longer justice. It was tyranny. They planned a strike. But it didn't go as planned. The Watchtower was their meeting point. It became their grave. Superman came first. He didn't talk. He didn't argue. He incinerated Martian Manhunter before anyone saw him coming. Heat vision burned straight through Jonas' skull. One moment calm, the next silence. Wonder Woman charged him. The two clashed, shaking the entire station. She landed a few good hits. He broke her neck, quick and brutal. He showed no hesitation. Green Lantern tried to trap him in a construct cage. Billy arrived and ripped his ring finger off before Hal could react. SHAZAM crushed his skull under his boot. The ring flew off into space. Aquaman summoned water from the station's reserves. It surged through the halls. He speared Billy through the chest with his trident. Billy laughed. He pulled the trident out and stabbed Arthur in the stomach with it. He didn't even use lightning. He watched the King of Atlantis bleed out on the cold floor. Flash tried to run. Not away, but fast enough to knock them both out. Speed Force attacks. Dodging heat vision. Thunderclaps. He got a hit in. A real one. SHAZAM fell. But not for long. Superman caught him mid-run. Faster than Barry thought possible. He smashed Flash's knee, twisting it the wrong way. As Flash fell, Billy struck with lightning. Barry screamed, then vanished. His body is gone, but not by death. Time pulled him. The Speed Force dragged him away, out of that moment and into something else for some reason. He heard a woman's voice in his head. Run, Barry. Run. His legs healed, and in that haze, he ran and ran with just one thought in his mind. To go back to the past and change the future. Silence fell over the watchtower. Only Batman was left. He had watched it all on monitors. He knew he couldn't stop them alone. He vanished into the shadows of Earth, planning something bigger and smarter. But this time, he would have to bend his rules, too. Flash woke up in a strange place. Ancient, timeless, stone walls covered in runes. Floating candles lit the chamber. The Rock of Eternity. He stumbled forward, limping, his body barely holding together. His costume was torn, and his skin burned. He saw an old man sitting on a stone throne, holding a staff. The wizard, the one who gave Billy his powers. Don't choose him, Barry gasped. Don't choose Billy Batson. The wizard stood, confused. What are you talking about, mortal? They kill everyone. Superman, SHAZAM. They destroy the world. Barry tried to explain everything. The murders, the takeover, the League's death. But time doesn't like interference. A roar filled the chamber. A black portal opened behind Barry. Time wraiths appeared. Shadows with claws born to protect the timeline. They reached for him. Barry grabbed the wizard's robe. Please, find someone else. Don't choose Billy Batson. Then he was gone, dragged into the void, screaming. The wizard stood still, silent. His hand tightened around the staff. In the future, thunder rumbled. Darkseid and his army have arrived to search for the anti-life equation. And without the heroes to stop him, he easily took over Earth. He manipulated Superman and turned him into one of his henchmen. The Dark Ages had begun. Real Earth. John Mason wasn't thinking about gods or timelines or comic books when he died. He was thinking about the principal's wife, her lipstick still smeared on his neck and dock, and the ridiculous satisfaction of lighting a joint on the office windowsill while she was blowing him hard. Life was a mess, but it was his mess. Then the principal walked in. No yelling, no questions, just a Glock. Bang! Darkness, but not for long. John's eyes snapped open, and the first thing he felt was heat, like an oven door left open, breathing dry fire in his face. The ground under him was cracked and scorched, dust kicking up into his throat with every breath. His shirt clung to his back, soaked with sweat. People were kneeling around him, faces covered in grime, fear in their eyes. Men, women, and some teenagers. Everyone looked like they'd been through hell or were still inside it. John blinked, trying to process it. This wasn't a hospital. This wasn't an afterlife either, unless hell had mining shifts and gun-toting assholes barking orders. A sharp crack of a whip made him flinch. "Get up, worms!" a voice bellowed. Guards stormed in. Not soldiers, enforcers. Armor-plated, eyes glowing red behind matte black helmets. Each one carried a rifle like it was part of their body. One of them kicked a man in the ribs. He groaned and crawled to his feet. "You will mine until your last breath," another guard shouted. "No braks. No food unless we say. You dig or you die." A teenage girl next to John whispered, "They don't lie. They'll kill you for blinking wrong." John looked at her, then at the others, and finally at the massive jagged walls surrounding them. Dark stone shimmered faintly, glowing with unnatural veins of red and green. Energy crackled in some places, like the rock was alive. Huge machines roared overhead, drilling deep into the earth or whatever this place was. Another crack. This time it wasn't a whip. Gunfire. A man ran. Skinny, desperate. He didn't get far. His head snapped back, and he dropped like a bag of meat, dead before he hit the ground. Everyone froze. "No one escapes Kahndaq," the lead guard growled. That name, Kahndaq, it hit John like a punch. "Oh shit," he muttered. This wasn't Earth. Or if it was, it wasn't the Earth he knew. Kahndaq, home of Black Adam, warlord turned demigod. John remembered the name from the comics. The place was a myth, a mix of ancient curse and modern dictatorship. And now it was real, and he was here. "What the hell is going on?" John whispered. Another guard stalked toward him. "You got a problem, newcomer?" John looked up. "Yeah, I just died like 10 minutes ago. So either this is a very elaborate fever dream, or I'm in some kind of nightmare crossover episode." The guard didn't like that. He raised his rifle. The teenage girl from earlier quickly pulled John to his knees. "Please forgive him. He's new. We'll work. Don't kill anymore." The guard spat on her face. "Double shifts for your two. No water break." He walked away. John exhaled slowly, trying to calm the adrenaline spike. "Hey, I'm sorry," he muttered to the girl beside him. She wiped the spit off her face with the back of her sleeve and didn't look at him. "Forget it," she said flatly. "First day's always the worst." He watched her for a second. Young, maybe 17 or 19, maybe 20s. Hair buzzed short, dirt streaked across her cheek like war paint. But her eyes didn't belong to a kid. They were the eyes of someone who'd seen too much and had no choice but to keep going. "What's your name?" he asked. "Luna," she replied. "No last name. They took that too." John didn't ask who they were. He had a feeling she wasn't being metaphorical. "You, John," he said. "John Mason." Luna finally looked at him. "You talk a lot for someone who's not dead yet." John almost laughed. "Almost. Guess I got lucky." "No such thing here," she said. "Just timing. Bad or worse." The next few hours were sweat, dirt, and silence. The air was thick and chemical, laced with something John couldn't name but felt in his lungs. The work was brutal. Pickaxes, wheelbarrows, hauling jagged rocks under scorching sun lamps that mimicked daylight but felt like hellfire. And the machines never stopped. Screeching, drilling, howling like beasts made of steel. Hunger. When the shift finally ended, well, if you could call it that, Luna collapsed next to him in a patch of shade carved out by the shadow of a crumbling wall. John tried to breathe through the pain in his back. "How long have you been here?" She shrugged. "Long enough to stop counting. Maybe a year. Maybe more." "They ever let anyone out?" Luna laughed. Not a happy laugh. "Only in pieces." He didn't push. Instead, he watched the other prisoners. Skin clung to bone. Eyes sunken. Hope buried so deep you'd need a resurrection to dig it out. But Luna was different. Even now, there was something defiant in her posture. Not rebellious, not stupid. Just unbroken. "You still think we're getting out of here?" he asked quietly. "I believe he'll come back," she said. "Who?" She turned her head, looking toward the horizon where a giant black tower loomed like a finger pointed at the gods. Kahndaq's real champion. The one they erased from history. The one they feared so much they buried his name. 1 month later, John was leaner now. Tougher. The weight he'd carried in his gut from a lazy life and a desk job was gone. Burned away by endless shifts and hunger. His hands were torn, his skin sun-scorched and bruised. But his mind was sharper than ever. The daily horror had done something to him, woken something up. He learned fast when to shut up, when to duck, when to fake a cough so he could catch a 10-second breath. He learned who the cruel guards were and who were just following orders. And he learned to listen. The slaves talked when they thought no one was listening. Whispers about why they were digging, what the enforcers were looking for. Some said it was a relic from the old gods. Others claimed it was a piece of the ancient demon. Some believed it was just power. Pure, raw, untamed power buried deep in the earth. Kahndaq wasn't just a prison. It was a mine. And someone up top, SHAZAM Muhammad, the self-proclaimed ruler, was willing to break the world to find what was hidden underneath it. Luna told John what she knew. SHAZAM wasn't a god. He was a man with delusions, backed by tech, magic, and a brutal army of enforcers and zealots. He claimed divine right, claimed the gods whispered to him. But Luna had seen too much to believe in gods anymore. Except one. "He'll come back," she said again one night. "One day we will be free." John sat beside her, nursing a cracked rib. "I don't know how you still believe in anyone. Justice League knew about this, didn't they?" Luna's jaw clenched. "Yeah, they know. Been knowing. Did nothing. Why? Politics. Borders. Diplomacy. Bullshit." She spat. "This place doesn't have oil or votes, so they let it rot. Even Batman won't step in unless it's clean and winnable. This isn't. We're not." John leaned his head back, staring at the fake sky projected above the mine. "So no one's coming." Luna didn't answer. She didn't have to. They were alone. And yet, even as the truth sank in, John felt something strange growing in his chest. A flicker. Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was a purpose. Maybe it was both. Whatever it was, it wasn't giving up. Not yet. Far away from the mines, in a black palace layered in obsidian and gold, SHAZAM Muhammad stood before a glowing map etched with symbols and shifting lines of energy. "They're getting closer," his advisor said, gesturing to a red pulse blinking under the mountains. SHAZAM smiled. "Then dig faster." He turned to the window, watching the endless work below. "The gods are watching," he whispered. "And soon, they'll kneel." What to expect? 1. Harem as usual. Non-harem lovers. Don't cry and move on. I ain't got time for your cries. 2. Op MC. Slice of life. Enough action. Slow burn. If you don't have patience, it's better to leave now. 3. Decodaverse plus TMNT. 4. First time writing a SHAZAM FF, and I know exactly why all the SHAZAM FFS are abandoned. It's challenging to write, took me months to get used to it. 6. Some character ages have been changed to fit into the story. 6. Have patience and read. Your questions will be answered. 7. So many casual readers are crying and complaining about why MC avoids using his power until the last moment. Kindly do a quick search on the origin of MC's power. It isn't that hard. A few months later, or maybe more, time didn't mean much anymore. John Mason couldn't remember what day it was, or if days even existed in this place. There was only digging, heat, death, and the smell of sour sweat, blood, and burnt rock, always clinging to his nostrils like a brand. He was thinner now, hollow-cheeked. His ribs showed when he bent over, his back a web of bruises and healing welts. The man who once lit joints in office windows didn't exist anymore. That man had been broken down, piece by piece, and left to rot in the sun-baked filth of Kahndaq. There was no escape, hope, or plans of rebellion. The last group that tried got paraded out in front of the entire camp. A family consists of a mother, a father, their 2 little boys, who are maybe 5 and 8 years old, and a few young men who thought they could change something. The guards shot the children first just to make a point and give the parents pain. Then the parents. Then the rebels. Luna had watched without blinking, her jaw clenched so tight it bled. John had puked behind the barracks when no one was looking. That night, he tried to kill himself. He waited until lights out, till the drills stopped screaming and the guards got bored of beating anyone. He found a jagged chunk of metal under the workbench and slipped it into his pocket. He walked out to the pit, past the work lines, past the place where the bodies were dumped when there were too many for the fire trench. He held the shard to his neck, and he thought about his last meal on Earth. The principal's wife, the smoke, the gun. But when he pressed the edge to his skin, he thought of Luna. A week ago, a machine belt snapped and whipped across her hand, 2 fingers gone. He didn't scream, just bit down on a piece of cloth and staggered behind a crate until the bleeding slowed. John had wrapped her hand and never said a word. Then he started doing her share of the load. Every day, quietly. Because if the guards noticed, she'd be dead before she could blink. If he died now, she'd be next. He dropped the medal. That was the night John found his reason to live. Not for himself, but for the girl with missing fingers, who still looked at the horizon like something out there was worth waiting for. She saved his life once, now it's time to pay back. He didn't speak much after that. Just worked, ate what little he could. Slept like a soldier in a foxhole, one eye open, every muscle half tensed. He carried Luna's weight and his own. He learned to walk quieter, move smarter, and keep his head down even when it burned to lift it. Luna grew weaker, but she was still there. Still watching the guards like she was memorizing their patterns. Still whispering rumors in his ear when they passed by. The kind of whispers that made him think she still had a plan. Even if it was insane. One night, while cleaning a broken drill part in the shade of the old wall, she said, "There's a map." He looked at her. A map, the first time in weeks. The next morning, the guards marched in a new shipment of prisoners. All in chains. Most were barely standing. But one of them caught John's eye. Tall, gaunt, face covered in soot. And the other guards kind of seemed afraid of him. The announcement came at noon. The gaunt new guard stepped out of the building with a scrap of paper in his hand. He didn't shout. He just spoke. And the way he said it, flat, like a judge reading a sentence, somehow made it worse. New order. Mining output to double. Effective immediately. No breaks. No meals during shifts. Anyone collapses, they're left where they fall. No one moved. No one dared breathe too loud. Then one of the older guards barked at the crowd and fired a round into the air, and the camp jolted back to life. Picks slammed into stone. Chains dragged. Cries echoed against the pit walls. Another week of hell began. Luna didn't cry. John didn't flinch. They just got back in line, shoulders hunched like everyone else. That night, under the cover of drills and dust, they made their move. Luna had the map tucked in the lining of her shirt, a faded scrap of parchment with ink nearly bled away. She'd found it in the boiler room weeks ago, hidden in a broken panel behind the old furnace. Or maybe someone gave it to her. She never said, just called it a gift. They slipped out during the 3rd shift rotation. There was a momentary gap in the guarding session when the new shift came in and the old shift went to rest. John led, hunched low, sticking to the walls. Luna followed, her bandaged hand cradled against her chest, feet silent on the cracked stone. John made sure to carry makeshift torches, matches, an iron club, some digging tools, water, whatever little food they had saved. They passed the body trench. The fires were low tonight. Ash hung in the air like falling snow. Behind the barracks, past the water barrels and the broken fence, they found it. A crack in the mine wall just wide enough to crawl through. Just like the map showed. John hesitated. "You sure?" Luna didn't answer. She was already on her hands and knees, sliding in. Inside was dark, choked with dust and silence. The air smelled old, like it hadn't moved in 100 years. The tunnel sloped down, uneven and tight. John scraped his elbows. Luna hit her head more than once, but they didn't stop. Hours passed, maybe more. They couldn't tell. Only the sound of their breath and the soft crunch of gravel under palms kept them grounded. Eventually, the tunnel widened. A chamber opened up, carved by hands long dead. Rusted tools hung from pegs. a rotten pile of wood and moss.
Luna liamach.
The flame danced, weak but alive. John took out a torch and Luna lit it up. There, she said, pointing. That way leads out, I think. Suddenly, an alarm. Just one blare, echoing faintly through the stone veins of the tunnel. John froze. Luna's eyes snapped to his. Shit, she said, barely a whisper. Let's go. John nodded. No time to speak. He grabbed the torch and moved. Fast now. They both did, scrambling over uneven ground, ducking under fallen beams, slipping past jagged outcroppings. Then Luna fell, a hard crack of bone on stone. She gasped, clutched her ankle. John turned back instantly. Luna! Keep going, she hissed, pain lacing her voice. Take it. She shoved the map at him with her good hand. Go. He didn't even look at it. He dropped the torch, tossed the backpack into the dark, slung the water bottle over his neck, and crouched low. You're insane, she muttered. Shut up and hold on. She tried to protest, but he already had her up, one arm around his shoulders, the other under her knees. She was light, lighter than she should have been. He could feel every rib through her shirt. Behind them, another alarm. Closer this time. Muffled shouts. Metal clanking. John pushed forward, his legs burning, lungs drawing in dust and smoke. The tunnel forked, and he followed the map's markings from memory. 3 notches, then a sharp bend. Then the ground dropped beneath them, not far, but enough to rattle his teeth when he landed.
Luna groaned.
He adjusted her weight and kept moving. Ahead, a shimmer of stone structure. They reached it within minutes. A massive door, half collapsed, embedded in the cliff face like a buried god. Ancient murals spread across the stone, faded but still clear. Warriors with flaming heads, spirals of fire, something that looked like a sky bleeding light. Words carved in a language John didn't know. There was no time to decipher. To the right, a crack in the wall. Narrow but wide enough. He squeezed them through sideways, Luna half dragged, half lifted. The tunnel spat them into a chamber. Quiet, white, air cooler, still. It was a tomb. Pillars rose in the dark like fingers from the earth. Statues loomed along the sides, crumbled and eyeless. In the center, a stone sarcophagus lay broken open. The lid split in two like it had been blown from the inside. Luna slid from his arms onto the ground, breathing hard. She looked up. What is this place? He was staring at the far wall. Symbols glowed faintly. Lines curled like circuitry across the stone, pulsing once, then fading. No idea, John said as he handed the water bottle to Luna. Drink some and take some rest. I'll look around. There has got to be a way out. Maybe some lever or something. Luna sat slumped against a pillar, her face pale and slick with sweat. She clutched her ankle and breathed in shallow bursts, like every inhale cost her something. John moved around the tomb, torchlight flickering against the carved walls, casting long shadows that seemed to watch him back.
No exit. No hidden passage.
Just cold stone and the silent, looming presence of the statues. He walked to the sarcophagus. The lid was cracked in two, jagged like a lightning bolt had split it. Inside was nothing but dust and a broken staff, dull and brittle looking, curled like it had been twisted by heat. He leaned closer, expecting something. A skeleton. Ashes. The charred remains of some godlike corpse. Nothing. Just the staff half buried in powder. So much for legends, he muttered. A click echoed behind him. Then a soft clink. Something round rolled across the stone floor and stopped near his boot. His brain caught up a second too late. He turned to Luna. Get down. But the flashbang went off before the words fully left his mouth. White, then black. The bang shook the tomb like thunder inside his skull. His ears screamed. His vision shattered into stars. Voices. Heavy boots. Metal on stone. He staggered to his feet. Torch dropped. Eyes struggling to adjust. Figures stormed in through the crack in the wall. Guards. 5, maybe 6. Rifles up. Shouting commands that blurred into noise. One grabbed Luna. She kicked weakly, tried to scream, but her voice was lost under the ringing. John moved. No plan. Just instinct. Arg. He tackled the nearest guard low, drove his shoulder into the man's gut, and brought him down. The rifle clattered away. John snatched it up, blind firing as he spun. 2 more closed in. He shot once, maybe twice. He wasn't sure if he hit anyone. A baton cracked across his back. Another across his ribs. He dropped the gun. Hands grabbed him, pulled him backward. A fist split his lip. He tasted blood. Someone hit Luna again. She collapsed. Her body folded like paper. Stop! John bellowed, voice hoarse. He surged against the grip holding him. Don't touch her. A rifle but slammed into his face. The world turned sideways. Darkness took him before he hit the floor. A splash of cold water snapped him awake. John gasped, choking, blinking through pain and blur. His arms were tied behind his back. Knees dug into stone. Blood crusted his mouth. The tomb was still around him. The broken statues now lit by harsh artificial light. Battery lamps. Brought in by the guards. The new guard stood over him, calm as ever. The one who made the announcement. Still gaunt. Still unreadable. Thank you, the man said. His voice was dry, almost polite. You and the girl did us a favor. We've been digging for years. Moving rock, wasting lives. All to find this place. He knelt almost at eye level with John. And here you are, leading us straight to it. Did you know she's the daughter of the rebels we just killed the other day? I tortured that bastard to give up the map. But well, he gave it to his daughter. Luna's eyes widened. Oh yes, we knew it from the beginning. But it was a necessary step to reach our end goal. John said nothing, just breathed, watched, waited. As for how we found you so fast, the man smiled without warmth. You're not as clever as you think. He pulled something from his pocket and tossed it near John's knees. The dented, scorched water bottle. John's water bottle. Tracker was in the cap. Easy. And one of the other workers. Well, let's just say some people want out more than others. Freedom makes traitors of everyone, eventually. John's jaw clenched. He thought of the tired faces in the lines. The desperate glances. He didn't know who sold them out, but he knew why. Hunger, fear, hope, all poison in the right hands. The guard stood and turned to Luna. She was barely conscious, slumped against a pillar, breathing shallowly. Her left eye was swollen shut, and blood streaked down her cheek. The moment she stirred, the man grabbed a fistful of her hair and dragged her forward. She didn't scream, just grit her teeth and let him pull her. He threw her down in front of the sarcophagus with a thud. Her injured ankle twisted under her, and she cried out. The guard crouched beside her and pointed to the faded inscription on the base of the tomb. Read it. Luna shook her head, weak but defiant.
No.
A kick landed square in her ribs. She coughed, curled inward. Don't hurt her, John yelled in his hoarse voice, only to earn a punch on his right cheek. Cog. Read it, he said again. She looked up at him, one eye full of hate. Go to hell. The man straightened. One of the soldiers stepped forward, rifle raised, pressed the barrel against John's temple. Luna saw it. Her lips parted, breath shallow. John didn't move. The guard's voice was calm, cold. Last chance. You think you are so tough? John said after spitting a mouthful of blood. Hitting a woman like a pansy-ass bitch. Ha! What a joke. What did you say? The head guard turned around. Ah! A deaf pansy-ass bitch. Ha ha ha. John mocked again. The soldier punched him again. His body slammed against the floor. Ha ha ha. John continued laughing. His teeth were covered in blood, and a stream of blood was rushing out of his nose. Did I hit a nerve? Cough, cough. You think you are a man? Why don't you cut me loose and fight me like a man? Oops. You are just a bitch who hits women and hides behind 20 armed men. Interesting. The head guard smiled without getting angry. Yeah, very. You'll kill us either way. But let me tell you, I'll at least kill one of you before I die. But if you are afraid of a thin-mind slave, well, John said with his usual grin. He knew there was no escape from this. They will kill them either way. So why not go with a little more struggle? Don't, Luna said meekly, but the guard gave a nod to the one holding John. He pulled John up to his feet and gave him a knife. You want to fight? Let's fight. The head guard simply stood there with his hands behind his back. John's eyes fell on Luna. He just winked at her before rushing toward the brute before him. Everyone's eyes were on the two of them. Luna chanced to grab her makeshift metal knife from her boots. If we are going to die, we'll take you, prick, with us. She thought and prepared herself. John rushed in with the knife, wild and reckless, teeth clenched like he could bite fate in half. He aimed for the guard's face, knowing he'd never survive the encounter but needing to leave a mark. Just one. But Luna moved first. While the guards watched John charge like a rabid dog, they forgot her. She slipped the metal shard from her boot and lunged low. The blade sliced across the back of the guard's leg. The tendons gave way with a wet snap. He screamed, his knees buckling. John didn't hesitate. He drove the knife up under the man's chin, deep into the soft part of the throat. It sank in with a sick sound, and the guard's eyes went wide as blood flooded his mouth. He choked on it, gurgled, fell. The camp commander, dead. Silence hit the room harder than the scream. Then chaos. The soldiers shouted. Rifles raised. Fingers on triggers. John moved without thinking. He threw his arms around Luna and pressed her against the sarcophagus, using his own body as a shield. He saw the first muzzle flash and braced himself. Bullets tore into him, first in the back, then the side, then more. The pain didn't even feel real, just pressure, like someone pushing hard on his skin over and over. His breath caught in his throat. Warmth flooded his chest. He held Luna tighter. She was crying, face buried against him. Then her body jerked. He felt her stiffen. A small, red hole bloomed in her forehead. Just like that, she was gone. John's mouth moved, trying to say her name, but no sound came out. His legs gave out. His body dropped with hers. They slid to the floor together. His head hit the stone. His cheek rested against the cold, blood-slick surface of the sarcophagus. Luna's face was inches from his, her eyes glassy, her mouth slightly open. So much blood. His vision swam. Everything was dull, like watching the world through dirty glass. The soldiers shouted again. One of them stepped closer to kick his body. Another leaned in, checking the pulse. He's still breathing. A boot hit his ribs. Bastard still alive after that? Well, not for long. One of them pressed the rifle's muzzle to John's head. Don't shoot him. Let him bleed to death. Wanna bet how long he'll hold on to his pathetic life? One of them said, Hell yeah, 100 quid. 10 seconds. Yang. 120 quid says 15 seconds. While they were betting, everything slowed. The shouting guards blurred into shadows.
John s'y rend.
Tears rolled down his cheeks. He couldn't save her in the end. His body didn't hurt anymore. Maybe because it was shutting down. Maybe because there wasn't anything left to feel. Blood pooled beneath him, soaking into the stone, mixing with Luna's. He wanted to say her name, just once, just whisper it into the dark. But nothing came out. His lips barely moved. His chest barely rose. Then he saw it. Where his hand touched the sarcophagus, something glowed. Faint at first, a dull flicker like a dying ember. Gold, with hints of black, like lightning trapped in stone. Pulsed once, then again, brighter. The staff inside the tomb somehow appeared right before his hand. John couldn't think, couldn't reason. How could he? He was a few seconds away from his death. In that brief moment, He let out a blood-curdling scream as he barely touched the staff. The soldiers laughed at him while betting and having their fill of fun. "Say my name." A whisper came to his ears. John tried to speak, but no word came out. But there was no time. One last try. One last breath. And with blood running down his mouth and nose, his voice barely a whisper, he said it. "SHAZAM!" The chamber exploded. Light filled every crack in the tomb. Not warm, not gentle. This was lightning, judgment, wrath. The blast vaporized the guard standing over him. The lightning swallowed everything. Stone cracked, metal liquefied. The guards didn't even have the chance to scream because they were simply vaporized in an instant. When it cleared, only dust and ashes remained where men had stood. Time itself seemed to hold its breath. Strange, pressing silence replaced the chaos. Floating particles of golden dust hung in the air like suspended fireflies. John lay motionless, barely alive, his body still leaking blood. Then he heard it. A voice, feminine. "You expected salvation from the wizard? No, you are my champion." A pulse of power surged through his veins. His back arched. Bones snapped and reformed. "You were chosen for something older, something the world forgot." The blood around him dried in an instant. The wounds closed. Scars vanished. His eyes burned with gold. Shu grants you stamina, endless as the sky. Haru gives you speed, swift as the falcon's dive. Amon lends you strength, rivaling the storm itself. Zahudi offers you wisdom, ancient, clear, absolute. Aten channels power. The sun's fury made flesh. Mehen wraps you in courage, the serpent's protection. John gasped as the words echoed in his skull, each one crashing through his body like thunder. His chest heaved. Air surged into his lungs like he was breathing for the first time. The ground beneath him cracked. Gold light shot from his eyes, arcing upward like a signal to something beyond the veil of this world. His spine straightened. His muscles expanded. Tendons thickened. Bones hardened. The wiry frame that had once belonged to a desperate man was replaced by his full potential form. Black armor erupted over his skin, forged by unseen hands, forming around him as if nanites were swarming over his body to form the armor. The symbol of the lightning bolt burned across his chest, pulsing like a second heart. John stood tall, taller than he'd ever been, every fiber of his body alive with power. His full evolved form made him look like a 25-year-old man. But his eyes, burning gold a second ago, dimmed when they found her. Luna. Still, her body lay exactly where it had fallen. Face relaxed, eyes closed now. The red hole in her forehead was small, precise, unfair. Her hands were still curled like she'd been reaching for him when it happened. John dropped to his knees. He failed to protect her. He reached for her, and his fingers trembled. Even though he got new power now, it wasn't enough to fix this. Lightning couldn't reverse a bullet or bring her back to life. Luna. He cradled her head gently, brushing her hair back. Felt wrong that she looked peaceful. She was never quiet. She always had something to say, something to fight about, some plan brewing in her sharp mind. He'd seen her bleed before. He'd seen her fight through pain, outwit enemies twice as clever, and stand tall when others broke. She didn't die. She wasn't supposed to die. No. John stood up with her in his arms. He won't let her go this easily. She dreamt of freedom, and just when he gained the power to do that, she wasn't there anymore. You are not allowed to die just like this. John knew about the DC universe. He had read comics and seen movies, so he knew exactly where he needed to go to bring her back to life. The League of Assassins, Lazarus Pit. John blasted through the stone ceiling like a cannon, the debris turning to dust around him. The lightning bolt on his chest flared bright as he shot into the night sky. Luna cradled in his arms. Her body was still warm. He didn't have much time. He tore through the air over Kahndaq, headed straight for the outpost tower. The guards never stood a chance. He hit the ground like a missile, the shockwave flattening walls and bodies alike. One raised his rifle, but John was already in front of him. A blur. A punch. The man folded in half and crashed into the far wall. "Don't get in my way," he yelled in anger as lightning bolts erupted from his body, killing everyone around him. In seconds, it was over. He stepped over the bodies without slowing down. He punched through the metal door of the broadcast room and ripped it out like a piece of paper. Inside, blinking monitors and equipment lined the walls. A guard tried to draw his sidearm. John didn't even look. He moved once and grabbed the guard's throat and snapped his neck. He snatched a phone from the dead man's pocket, opened the map, and typed it in Gotham. Found it. John kicked open the window and flew out, the phone clutched in one hand, Luna in the other. The wind howled past his ears as the city lights blurred beneath him. He followed the coast, soaring faster than any jet, leaving a trail of gold lightning behind him that lit up the night sky. Gotham appeared on the horizon like a bruise on the world. Clouded, gritty, choked in fog and shadows. Perfect. He needed Batman. If anyone knew how to find the League of Assassins and the Lazarus Pit, it was him. John found the Wayne Tower and didn't waste time with doors. He simply flew around and spotted Bruce by luck. He was still in his office that night. He flew straight in, shattering through the glass wall of Bruce Wayne's office in a blast of shards and wind. The billionaire barely had time to turn before John landed hard, the floor cracking beneath his boots. Bruce was there, still in his suit, tie loosened, eyes narrowing as the dust settled. John didn't speak at first. He held Luna in his arms, soaked in blood. Bruce stepped forward, unfazed. "Who are you?" "I need the Lazarus Pit." John pointed his finger at Bruce. "Give me the location of the League of Assassins." Bruce's jaw tightened. "Put her down." "I'm not here to fight you," John said, voice raw. "She's dead. I have the power to fly across the world, burn through armies, survive bullets. I can't even save her. She saved my life, yet I failed her. But you can help me." Bruce didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. "You know where it is," John said. "You know how to get in. You know Raz. I also know the pit doesn't bring people back the same." "I'll take that risk," John said. "For her, I'll risk anything." A long pause. Then Bruce looked at Luna, at the small hole in her forehead, and the blood dried on her skin. Finally, he nodded. "You've got one shot." He stepped to a panel on the wall, entered a sequence. Coordinates lit up on a nearby screen. "Nanda Parbat," Bruce said as he took out a GPS device and gave it to him. "Take this. Follow the signal. That's all I can do." John didn't say thank you. He didn't have time for gratitude. He just turned, cradled Luna closer, and shot back into the night, glass swirling in the air behind him. Another superhuman. Need to create countermeasures, Bruce thought with a grim expression. The mountains were cold. Fog covered the surroundings. John flew through the clouds, the wind cutting around him like knives. He held Luna close, wrapped in his cape. She felt lighter than ever. Too light. He couldn't stop thinking about the hole in her forehead. She didn't deserve this. The GPS from Bruce blinked steadily. He followed it through snow-covered peaks until the signal turned green. The city revealed itself slowly, like a ghost, hidden in the mist, built into the cliffs. John landed just outside the gate, dust and gravel exploding under his boots. He walked forward with Luna in his arms, his eyes locked on the temple doors. 2 assassins stood guard. They drew their swords without a word. Figures dropped from the rooftops, from behind columns, from the trees above. Dozens of assassins in black robes surrounded him, blades drawn, eyes locked. John didn't want to fight. Not now. "I'm not here to kill anyone," he said. "I need Raz al Ghul." The assassins didn't care. They attacked. John ducked the first strike, stepped left, moved faster than they could follow. He dodged a bunch of daggers and, clank, a sword struck his neck. He didn't move, and the sword failed to cut through his flesh. Even the poison on the blade didn't even leave a scratch on his body. "Wait," John said. "I'm not your enemy. I just want to talk. Don't make me repeat myself." One assassin rushed forward. John stepped back. Another came from the right, sword raised. Something inside him snapped when the blade came too close to Luna's face. "Enough!" he shouted. A flash of gold lightning burst out from his chest. It exploded outward in every direction. A wave of power rippled through the courtyard. The assassins dropped their weapons and fell to the ground, stunned. Some were twitching. Others groaned. None were dead. John stood in the center of it all, breathing heavily. "Stop!" A voice came from the temple gate. It opened with a loud creak. An older man walked forward. Long black hair with white streaks, green eyes, and hands behind his back. He looked too calm even after witnessing John's power.
Radis al Ghul.
Beside him walked a woman with green eyes and brown hair. She was wearing a black ninja outfit.
Talia al Ghul.
They stopped at the edge of the stunned soldiers. Raz looked down at them, then at John. Raz raised a hand. The rest of the assassins stopped moving. "You came with force. That means you are desperate." John said nothing. He looked at Talia, then back at Raz.
Rash stipek kalo.
"We know what you did in Kahndaq. That kind of power doesn't go unnoticed. You could level this mountain if we fought, but you didn't kill my men. That says something. You know what happened there?" John asked. "We have eyes and ears everywhere," Raz replied. John vanished in a blur of speed and reappeared right in front of Raz. Their faces were inches apart. Raz didn't flinch. John's voice was low, calm, and deadly serious. "Take me to the pit." Raz al Ghul studied John in silence, his eyes calculating. He looked down at Luna's lifeless body cradled in John's arms. The red smear across her forehead. The way her hand still curled like it had been reaching for something before death took her. "You understand what the Lazarus pit does, don't you?" Raz asked quietly. John's jaw tightened. "It brings people back." Raz nodded once. "Yes, but not as they were. Resurrection is not a gift. It is a curse wrapped in a second chance." John didn't move. Raz walked slowly toward the edge of the courtyard. The stone path curved down to a lower chamber, hidden beneath the temple. He gestured for John to follow. The pit restores life, but it takes something in return. Memories twist. Emotions fracture. Souls scream through the flesh. Some return with madness. Others return with hunger. The girl you carry might not remember you. She might not remember herself. You must be ready to lose her all over again. "I'll take that chance," John said. Talia stepped forward now. Her eyes were on Luna, not John. "She fought for something, didn't she?" John nodded. "She believed someone would come back for us, that someone would tear down the walls." Talia looked at her father.
Rash sai.
"Very well. But once this is done, you are in our debt." "Debt?" John stopped and looked at Raz. His eyes were sparkling with lightning. He read it in one of the comic series about how Raz manipulated events in Kahndaq from the shadows. "You think I don't know your plan? You manipulated those bastards by giving them the information on the hidden treasure underneath. You knew very well that an internal conflict would break out, and slowly their lust for power and treasure would destroy Kahndaq. And when they are at their weakest point, you'll eradicate the entire city, including the civilians." He grabbed Raz's throat and pulled him up in the air with his left hand. "Which means Luna would have died had I not gained this power." "Cog." Raz struggled against John's grasp. Even his enhanced strength, which he gained from the pit, was nothing before the solid grasp that was slowly squeezing out his life. "And you dare talk about debt?" John pulled him close and looked into his eyes. Raz clawed at John's arm, veins bulging in his neck as his feet dangled inches off the stone. His calm mask cracked for the first time in years.
Surprise.
Panic. Rage. It all flickered across his face. Talia stepped forward. Her hand twitched toward the blade on her hip. The assassins around them were about to use bombs. "Move, and I'll snap his neck," John said without even glancing at her. She stopped and raised an arm, signaling the assassins to stop. John stared into Ra's eyes. "You've spent centuries pretending your war is about balance, but it's always been about power. Kahndaq burned because you let it, because you fed them lies, let them tear each other apart, and planned to swoop in once the bodies cooled." Raz gasped, his voice barely a whisper. "You know nothing." "I know enough," John growled. "I saw what your silence cost. I carried her body through the pit of your design. You didn't forge balance. You let monsters grow in the dark and called it strategy." Raz looked at Talia, eyes pleading now. John turned to her. "He's old. He's smart. But he's blind. You see it, don't you?" Talia's eyes flicked between them. For the first time, she hesitated. No loyalty in her stance now. Only questions. "Your father's not building a better world. He's hoarding a broken one. He talks about saving Earth while feeding it to the fire. That's not leadership. That's ego." John lowered Raz slowly until the man's boots touched the ground. He didn't release the grip on his throat. "Talia, you can take the League somewhere else. Somewhere new. You don't need to be your father's shadow." Raz opened his mouth to protest, but John tightened his grip again. "This is your chance," John said to her. "Not just to rule, to change the League. Make it about purpose, not manipulation." Talia stepped closer. She looked into her father's eyes, and for once, she saw what she had spent years ignoring. Fear, weakness, a hunger for control that had devoured his cause. "Talia, ag," he rasped. "Stab." Warm blood gushed out of Ra's stomach. Talia slashed it open in the blink of an eye. All his intestines and organs splattered onto the ground, creating a bloody mess. John snapped his neck at the same time. Ra's dead, but John decided to make sure he stays that way. So, he summoned a blast of lightning from his hand, overheating and turning the Ra's body to ashes. "Let's go," Talia said, walking past John toward the dungeon-like area. John followed her down the stone steps, the air growing colder with each level. The torches lining the walls flickered in their brackets, casting long shadows across the narrow path. Luna's body was still in his arms, cradled gently against his chest. Her skin was pale. Her weight felt like a memory. He glanced at Talia, walking ahead with blood still dripping from her blade. "You killed your own father," John said quietly. "Why?" "Because I said a few words." Talia didn't look back. Her voice was steady, but something deeper stirred beneath it. Regret, maybe, or clarity. "No, not because of your words, because they were true. And Nissa and I have been plotting to kill him for years. We even turned his own guards against him, but that man killed them all and Nissa took the fall. He severed her arms, made her blind, and threw her into the dungeon. He was too strong. Couldn't do anything back then. But, thanks to you, I'll be able to save my sister." Well, that's some messed up shit. But one less scum, John thought. She paused at a large stone door and pressed her hand against a carved seal. It glowed faint green and groaned as it slid open, revealing a chamber lit by eerie blue fire. Talia looked back and noticed John's curious eyes, so she decided to tell a little bit about Raz. Why not? The more they talk, the more she'd find out about him and his character, because right now she was running blind without any idea of his real power. She needs information, and the best way to get information is to talk and make friends. She was pretty confident about her beauty and manipulation skills. "You see, my father hasn't been Raz Al Ghul for a long time," she said as she stepped inside. "He stopped seeking balance years ago. He only wanted control, even over death." John stepped into the room behind her. The Lazarus pit bubbled in the center like a living wound. The surface shimmered, glowing faintly with an unnatural light. The air was slightly metallic and cold. Felt ancient, alive. Talia looked at the water. I watched him use this pit too many times. Each time he came back less human, more obsessed, more cruel. At some point, I realized he didn't care about saving the world. He just wanted to be the last man standing when it crumbled. She turned to John. Anyway, it was just a matter of opportunity, nothing more. John didn't respond right away. He walked toward the edge of the pit and looked down. Ripples moved across the surface even though nothing touched it. Can this really bring her back? Talia nodded. Yes, but you have to be ready. If she comes back wrong. She won't, John said. Talia raised an eyebrow. You sound sure. John looked at Luna's face. He brushed a strand of hair away from her forehead. Because I know her. Whatever this pit does to her, she'll fight it. She's stronger than anyone I've ever met. And if she forgets me, it's for the better. I wouldn't want her to remember all those cruel memories and sufferings. Talia didn't argue. She just stepped aside and gestured toward the water. So, she's his weakness, huh? Interesting. Talia thought. Going so far for a girl. I wonder. John took a breath. Then another. He stepped forward and lowered Luna's body into the pit. The water hissed. The Lazarus pit hissed louder as Luna's body sank beneath the surface. The water shimmered, glowing with eerie light, casting shifting shadows across the stone chamber. Steam rose like smoke from a volcano. It stank of metal and rot, like old blood and burning air. John knelt at the edge, fists clenched, eyes locked on the spot where she disappeared. The surface bubbled. Then it stilled. Silence returned. Talia stepped closer, her voice calm. It takes time. Sometimes seconds, sometimes minutes. It depends on the strength of the soul and the body. John didn't move. His eyes never left the pit. The water rippled. Then it exploded. A figure shot upward from the Lazarus pit like a missile. Soaked in glowing liquid, arms outstretched, mouth open in a raw scream. Luna. Her eyes burned green, wild and unfocused. Her hair whipped in every direction as she landed hard on the stone floor, crouched like a cornered animal. Her fingers dug into the stone. Her breath came in fast, broken gasps. John stood quickly. Luna. She lunged, faster than he remembered, stronger. Her hands slammed into his chest, but it was useless against his power. He just stood there. She spun away and staggered backward, shaking. Her eyes locked on him, still burning green in the darkness. He took a step closer. She hissed and was about to jump forward when Talia shot her with a sleeping dart. Luna hit the floor with a sickening thud, almost instantly. John ran to her and lifted her head, her body limp in his arms. The glowing green water poured from her hair and dripped onto the stone floor. Her eyes were closed, her breathing soft. He looked up at Talia. What did you do? I sedated her. Don't worry. She'll wake up soon enough. Take her and follow me. John took Luna's unconscious body in his arms and followed Talia out of the pit. They walked inside the main mansion. Talia opened the door of a room. Inside was a bed with an antique wooden frame. A small table sat to one side with a glass of water. The windows were covered by thick curtains, but the room was well lit. John laid her on the bed. He was happy to see that she came back to life. He pulled a chair next to her and waited. Talia brought food and drinks. John refused to eat until Luna woke up. He was getting impatient. What was taking so long? You must eat, Talia said. And rest. Could take some time. I don't require food. Or rest. It's not a requirement. It's a pleasure. John ignored her. Talia sighed. She looked at Luna, lying on the bed. You're in love with her. Love. John thought for a moment as he watched Luna's face. Was it that kind of love? Or something else? He didn't know. But he felt something. Something strong. Something that he'd never experienced before. Something he couldn't control. Doesn't matter. Talia watched him for a moment longer, then said, Get out of the room. I'll change her clothes and clean her up. John reluctantly left the room, closing the door behind him. He stood outside the room, pacing back and forth. He didn't understand why he felt this way. He felt anxious, restless. He wanted to be with her. He needed to be near her. It was like he couldn't breathe if he wasn't close to her. He didn't understand why he felt these things, but he knew it was real, and it scared him. After what felt like hours, Talia opened the door. John rushed inside. An hour passed before Luna stirred. Her eyes opened slowly. No green light, just gray and dazed. She looked around, confused. John leaned in, relief flooding his face.
Luna.
"You're awake." She blinked, then looked at him. "Who are you?" The words hit him harder than any blade ever could. "It's me, John." She pulled away slightly. Her eyes searched his face, but nothing sparked. "Where am I?" she whispered. John swallowed hard. Talia stood nearby, arms crossed, watching with quiet interest. "You got into an accident, but you are safe now," John said with a warm smile. He couldn't tell her that she was shot. She glanced around the room again, as if searching for something. "Where are we?" she asked again. She lost her memories. The cost of using the pit. "I'm sorry, but this is permanent," Talia said calmly. John sat back in the chair, letting out a slow breath. The pain was sharp, but it didn't show on his face. He nodded once, more to himself than anyone else. "That's all right," he said softly. "It's better this way." Luna looked at him, uncertain, her body tense under the blanket. She didn't know why, but something about his presence didn't scare her. Confused her, sure, but there was no fear, only a strange, quiet comfort. "You're safe here," John said. "No one's going to hurt you. You can rest. Heal." She hesitated, then slowly nodded. Talia stepped closer and placed a glass of water on the bedside table. "Drink. Your body's still adjusting. You'll feel strange for a while." Luna reached for the glass and took a slow sip. Her hands trembled, but she held it together. She glanced at John again. "You saved me." He didn't smile, just met her eyes with that calm, steady gaze.
No.
"She did." He pointed at Talia. "Thank you," Luna said, looking at Talia before her gaze drifted to the window. "What happened before? I feel empty." John looked away for a moment. The memories rushed back. The mine, the screams, the whip cracks, the blood on her face, the bullet, the cold weight of her in his arms. But he didn't say any of it. Not a word. "As I said, you got into an accident," he said finally. "It's over now. You don't have to remember it. Just know that you're safe." Luna nodded slowly, then leaned back against the pillows. She closed her eyes. Her breathing steadied. There were too many questions in her mind. Where did she come from? Does she have a family? What kind of relationship do they have with her? Why was her heart beating faster seeing that man smile? It was as if he was smiling for the first time in his life. Talia stood silently for a while, then walked out, giving them space. John remained at her side. She didn't remember the pain, the suffering, the broken fingers or the hunger or the fear. She didn't remember the people they buried or the fire pits or the laughter of guards. She didn't remember the fight, but that was fine. She was alive, and that was enough. Luna soon fell asleep. She was too tired. John sat in silence, watching her sleep. His mind drifted to Kahndaq. He thought about the camps still full of broken souls. The guards were still walking freely, shouting orders and shooting anyone who hesitated. He thought about the one who'd shot her, about the others who stood by and laughed. Although they were all dead, what about those remaining bastards? What about the one at the top? It was time to end it all. No more unnecessary death or pain. He stood and walked out of the room. Talia stood waiting in the hall, arms folded. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Kahndaq." She raised an eyebrow. "Revenge. Doesn't matter. Revenge. Justice. Who cares? I'm just gonna kill those bastards," John replied coldly. "You'll burn the whole place to the ground." John didn't argue. Talia smirked. Just be sure you leave enough standing to rebuild. Look after Luna. After her mind stabilizes, make a new ID for her and send her to Metropolis. Help her start a new life. That's all, John said before flying into the sky like a bullet. Kahndaq. That night, the sky above Kahndaq split open. The clouds burned gold as a streak of lightning slammed into the heart of the capital. Windows shattered. Towers cracked. The streets lit up like the sun had fallen. People screamed.
Alarmsrang.
But no one could stop what came next. John Mason hit the ground outside the palace like a meteor. The shockwave blasted the front gates apart. Stone crumbled. Guards flew through the air like broken dolls. Dust and fire spiraled into the sky. He didn't slow down. 2 guards rushed him with rifles raised. Before they could speak, he crushed their skulls together with a single clap of his hands. Their helmets cracked. Blood sprayed. Their bodies dropped without a sound. A 3rd guard fired point blank. John didn't flinch. The bullet hit his chest and flattened. He walked through it, grabbed the man by the throat, and slammed him into the wall hard enough to shatter both. Inside the palace, panic spread like fire. Men shouted. Lights flickered. The intercom screamed for all units to converge. They tried. John ripped through the front line like wine through paper. Every guard who aimed a weapon died before pulling the trigger. Some exploded in lightning. Others went flying, bones snapping on impact. One begged. John didn't even look at him, just snapped his neck mid-step and moved on. The halls were red with light and sirens. He burned through the east wing. A squad of 10 waited in formation, shields raised, electrified batons charged. They didn't last 10 seconds. He blitzed them from the side, tore one shield in half, hurled it like a blade into another man's chest, then sent 3 flying with a shockwave stomp that cracked the marble. He kept walking. More came. Rockets, turrets, sonic disruptors. None of it worked. He flew through one hallway, dragging 2 guards by the legs, letting their heads bounce off walls until they went limp. He hurled them into a security door, blasting it open. Inside, Asim Mohammed waited, robes of gold, body armor beneath. His eyes were wide. He reached for a console. John appeared behind him, grabbed his wrist, and crushed it. Bones snapped like twigs. Asim screamed. John shoved him through the reinforced glass wall of his command room. They crashed into the courtyard below. Blood streamed from Asim's mouth as he crawled backward, coughing, sobbing. Wait, I can explain. I didn't. John grabbed his throat and flew high up in the sky. He stopped when they were at the highest point, looking down at the city. No explanation will save your life. You have caused too much suffering in this world. Now you will pay, John said coldly, looking down at the struggling Asim. The man's face turned red as he struggled to breathe, his hands gripping John's wrists with all his strength, trying to pry them off to no avail. Look down. I'm going to let go. Breathe as much air as you want. This will be your last breath, John said, tightening his grip on Asim's neck. Wait, please. Mercy. Asim choked out desperately. But mercy was never an option. John simply let him go. Arg! Asman screamed at the top of his lungs as he fell, his body tumbling in the air. Forget breathing, he shat his pants out of fear. Well, the scream lasted for a few seconds, followed by splat. He crashed onto the ground, right in front of the palace gate, painting the ground red. His body was a splattered meat and blood. Next, John flew down. He walked through the central courtyard, slaughtering the last of the resistance. He grabbed a fleeing soldier and hurled him into a transport truck. The impact lit the engine on fire. It exploded seconds later, sending shockwaves through the plaza. Another squad tried to escape through the north gate. He flew past them, stopped in midair, and raised both hands. Lightning erupted from the sky, dozens of bolts falling like a divine storm. The ground cracked. The men screamed. Then they were gone. Inside the armory, soldiers hid behind blast doors. John ripped the door from its hinges, stepped in, and closed the door behind him. 10 seconds later, it opened again. Only John stepped out. Blood soaked the floor behind him. He left no one standing.
Noers. No commanders.
No architects of cruelty. He found the ones who ran the mines, the ones who ordered the executions, the ones who laughed at broken bodies and made bets on suffering. He made sure they died last. At dawn, the fires still burned. The black tower of a Sim's rain cracked down the middle and fell in slow motion, collapsing into the earth like a dying titan. John stood on the rubble, his eyes glowing faint gold in the smoke. Below, survivors crawled from bunkers and alleys, looking up at him in stunned silence. Some wept, some just watched, unsure what they were seeing. Freedom? A god? Their savior from the old legends. Within a few minutes, John was surrounded by the survivors and the city people who were just barely surviving. Everyone fell to their knees and lowered their head. John looked at them silently for a moment before speaking in a loud voice. Today is the end of slavery in Kahndaq. There will be no more prisons, no more whips or chains, no more guards or masters. Any man, woman, or child found guilty of enslaving another will face judgment. The crowd looked up at him, their faces full of hope. There was not a single hint of fear. You are free now, he continued, but it won't be easy. The path ahead will be hard. You must work together. Build a nation where everyone is treated with dignity and respect. You have suffered. You have endured. Now it's time to live. Live well. Live free. With that, he flew into the sky, leaving the people to their new lives.
Metropolis.
2 days later. Location: President's Office. White House, East Wing Situation Room. The walls were lined with monitors. Every screen showed a different angle of destruction. Craters, collapsed towers, streets scorched with lightning. Drones buzzed through the wreckage, scanning heat signatures, picking through corpses. Amanda Waller stood at the center of the room, arms folded. She looked cold as usual. She wore her usual dark blue blazer, her ID badge clipped to her collar, but her expression made it clear she was the one running this room, not the president. On the main screen, a satellite image zoomed in on the ruins of Kahndaq. The palace had become a crater. The Black Tower no longer existed. Dozens of heat signatures moved through the rubble. Survivors, bowing before a man in a black suit. The camera then froze on a single image. A gold-streaked blur in the sky. A man mid-flight, eyes glowing faintly. The lightning bolt on his chest was burning with power. The room was dead silent. "Play it again," Waller said. A tech officer rewound the feed and hit play. The satellite footage replayed the fall of Asim Mohammed. His body plummeted, slammed into the stone. Blood splattered. The impact registered as a seismic event. Someone in the back winced. President Matthew Reed leaned forward, his palms flat on the desk. He looked pale. "This is the man who took out an entire regime in one night?" "Yes, sir," Waller said. "He has powers like Superman?" "We have analyzed his power with the limited information we currently possess. His strength level might be similar to Superman's, and according to our analyst, this one's magic-based. That puts him in a different threat class entirely." Reed looked at the screen again. "Is he on our side?" Waller didn't answer immediately. Her silence was louder than any answer. "Do we know his name?" "No legal identity. No match in any registry. Origin unknown. Prior affiliations unknown. We're still piecing it together. And Kahndaq, gone. He didn't just overthrow the regime. He eradicated it. Wiped out their command structure, military forces, and black sites. Their entire intelligence network. All in less than an hour." Another screen showed body bags being loaded into transport carriers. Hundreds. No survivors from the inner circle. "He left civilians alive," Waller added. "Freed the prisoners. Gave a speech. Then left. He did what the Justice League and we couldn't for years. The people there now think of him as their god. That's the only reason we're not treating him as a global terrorist. But power like that, if left unchecked, could become a problem in the future. So what do you suggest? The president asked. We must find his weakness and create a prison to hold him. Superman owes me a favor, Waller said as she looked at John's image. Let him find out his weakness, then we'll capture him. After that, we can interrogate him. 2 years later, Fawcett City, Cafe, 11 a.m., year 2025. The rain poured hard outside. The streets were wet, the sky was gray, and people moved fast under umbrellas, trying to stay dry. Inside a small corner cafe, it was quiet and warm. Soft music played from a speaker near the ceiling. The smell of coffee and bread filled the air. A few customers sat scattered across the room. Most were looking at their phones or laptops. No one paid attention to the tall man sitting near the window. John sipped his black coffee, his eyes on the rain outside. He wore a brown hoodie, some faded jeans, and boots still damp from the walk-in. His hair was a bit longer now, and he had a short beard. Nothing about him stood out. He looked like any other working-class guy on a rainy day. And that was the point. For the past 2 years, John had done nothing that could draw attention. He worked odd jobs, moved from place to place. Construction, warehouse, cleaning, and even food delivery. He never stayed in one spot too long. He lived in a small, one-room apartment on the east side of Fawcett City. He hadn't used his powers since the day he left Kahndaq. Well, he returned there that night after killing the dictator to something, but that's it. We'll see that later. Not once. Not when his ribs cracked during a fall on a job site. Not when he got jumped by 2 guys in an alley for his wallet. He simply stabbed them and left them to bleed out in the alley. Not even when he had an accident that almost killed him. He stayed human. The reason? It was simple because there was someone, Dr. Fate, in the Justice Society who could trace his existence. And that wasn't an option. Not to mention, there was Batman, who always had a way to find other superhumans' weaknesses. And later, after some thinking, he realized that Blaze was the one who gave him the power of Black Adam. So, there was a huge chance of corruption if he used his power. He might lose his mind, and Blaze might use him to release the deadly sins or start a war. The OG Adam, who was trained and guided by the Council of Wizards, couldn't resist the temptation. What could someone like John do? So, better safe than sorry. However, he learned martial arts and spent a few months learning his way around guns and other weapons. He was like a multitasking pro. And for some reason, he retained a trace of wisdom from his power, even in his base form. And let's say he utilized that power to create a path to live comfortably. Let's just say he invested his money and learned some skills along the way. As for Luna, she started a new life in Metropolis, thanks to Talia. Last time he checked on her from a distance, she had already skipped a few grades and was now going to college. John stirred his coffee slowly, still watching the rain. In his coat pocket was a small notebook. He carried it everywhere. Inside were pages full of notes and names. It looked like a superhero fanatic's record book. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, Green Lantern, Hawkman, Atom Smasher, Stargirl, Cyclone, Dr. Fate, and a couple of other heroes. He also made a list of active villains like Joker, Harley, Penguin, Riddler, Calendar Man, Dr. Freeze, and a few others. He had been watching quietly. For months, he studied newspapers, watched talk shows on superheroes, overheard street talk, and read every public record he could find. The Justice League existed alongside the Justice Society. But they didn't get along. Too many leaders, too many secrets, and their different ways of doing their job. It was clear that there was tension among them. Public opinions about them are mixed. Some preferred the League while others preferred the Society. Then there was Amanda Waller and her Suicide Squad. That was a darker group. Criminals forced to do missions for the government. Dirty work. High risk. Zero mercy. John had watched them operate from a distance once. He saw them bring down a warehouse full of metahumans during one of his late-night food delivery jobs. He saw Polka Dot Man slaughtering a group while laughing like a maniac. Luckily, he drove fast from that area. What surprised John most was when he found out that Billy Batson was just a normal kid here. So were his foster siblings. There was no SHAZAM, no wizard, no magical word turning a boy into a god. It made no sense. Some of the timelines were right, others were wrong. This reality was broken, like pieces from different puzzles shoved into one box, a cluster heap. And the scariest part? He had no idea what was coming next. He took out a pen and flipped open his notebook. On the newest page were a few questions he had written. Why am I here? What's next? Too many heroes and villains. So, is there a reason for me to step in? He stared at them for a long time. He sipped his coffee again. Then, boom! The boom shook the windows. People in the cafe screamed and dropped to the floor. A few ran for the exit. Cups fell off tables. Plates crashed onto the floor. The lights flickered. John stayed seated. He looked up slowly and turned toward the sound. The explosion had come from the street just across the block. Smoke rose into the gray sky. He set his coffee down and stood up, pulling his hoodie tighter. Outside, chaos had taken over. A black armored van had crashed into a bank. The front was smashed in. A group of armed men in dark gear stormed out. They wore masks and carried rifles. One of them had a rocket launcher on his back. People screamed and ran. Cars screeched away. The gunman opened fire on the building. Glass shattered. Alarms blared. The gunmen shouted orders to each other. John stood on the sidewalk still watching. He clenched his fists, but then took a deep breath, releasing the clench. This wasn't his problem. The heroes will deal with them soon. No reason to get caught up in this mess. Then he saw her. A streak of red and gold shot down from the sky and slammed into the street, sending two gunmen flying. One hit a light pole and didn't move. The other bounced off a car and rolled onto the pavement. John recognized her. Wonder Woman. The rest turned, shouting, "Open fire!" Bullets flew. The woman didn't flinch. She raised her shield and deflected every shot. Sparks flew as bullets bounced off the metal. She moved fast, a blur of skill and force. Her lasso whipped out and yanked one man into the air. He screamed as he slammed into the ground, his gun sliding away. The leader of the group shouted and raised his rocket launcher. "Take her out!" He fired. The rocket flew straight toward her. She stepped forward and swung her shield. The explosion was deafening. Fire and smoke burst out in a wave, sending debris flying. When it cleared, she was still standing. Not a scratch. The woman stepped out of the smoke, calm and steady. She cracked her neck one before she threw her sword. It spun through the air and sliced through the launcher, cutting it clean in half. The leader stumbled back, stunned. She caught her sword as it returned to her hand. She moved again. Fast. Too fast. She dodged a swing from a steel pipe and broke the attacker's nose with her elbow. He spun, kicked another one into a parked car, and used her lasso to slam two more together. Within seconds, it was over. All the gunmen were down. Some groaning, some unconscious, none dead. She stood in the middle of the wreckage, chest rising and falling. Her shield hung by her side. Her sword rested against her shoulder. The rain hit her armor and slid off like water over stone. Police sirens echoed in the distance. People peeked out from behind cars and buildings. Phones came out. Cameras flashed. Wonder Woman turned to look at them. Then she looked up. Her eyes locked on John. For a moment, they just stared at each other. She tilted her head slightly, as if she sensed something. She glanced down at her lasso and noticed the faint glow and heard the faint humming sound. It was as if it was reacting to something. And by the time she looked up, John just disappeared into the crowd. Diana narrowed her eyes. Something wasn't right. She could feel it. John didn't look back after slipping into the crowd. He kept his hood up, head down, and moved fast. The streets were still full of panic and sirens, but he stayed quiet, weaving between people until the noise faded behind him. He took a side alley, past a locked gate, and ducked into a back entrance of a small building. On the door was a faded sticker that read, "Tony's Pizza Hot. Fast. Honestish." Inside, the kitchen smelled like garlic, cheese, and grease. The floor was slippery, the walls were stained, and the radio near the oven blasted rock music from 20 years ago. Tony stood behind the counter, yelling into a headset, sweat pouring down his bald head. He waved when he saw John. "You're late," Tony shouted. John checked the wall clock. It was 12:07. 7 minutes, John said, hanging his coat on a hook. 7 minutes is late when there's a lunch rush. Suit up. You got a big one. John grabbed the delivery bag and the keys to the red scooter parked outside. He pulled on a waterproof jacket and his helmet. Tony held out a ticket. 3 extra-large meat lovers, 1 veggie, 2 garlic breads, and a 2-liter soda. Go to this address. John looked at it. 321 Lock Street, apartment 4B. Cash on delivery? Nope. Paid online. Big tip too. Must be someone's birthday or bribe your neighbor's day. John nodded, took the pizza bag, headed out. The rain hadn't let up, but he didn't mind. He liked the cold. The scooter coughed a few times before starting. He zipped into the wet streets, weaving through traffic, splashing water as he went. 15 minutes later, he reached Lock Street. It was a quiet block. Older buildings, lots of graffiti, cracked sidewalks. He parked the scooter near the entrance, grabbed the pizzas, and headed up the stairs. The building smelled like wet carpet and cigarette smoke. He knocked on 4B. No answer. He knocked again, a bit louder. Bang! 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 3 gunshots came from inside. John froze. The pizzas slipped a little in his grip. Why the hell am I getting into trouble lately? From inside the apartment, he heard a woman's voice, high-pitched and playful. Pudden, you shouldn't have lied about your past. He knew that voice. There's only one lunatic who used that word. Harley Quinn. He heard something crash. Maybe a chair. Maybe a person hitting a wall. Then came a whimper. A man begging. Please, Harley. I didn't mean to. Joker's voice. Wait a second. Not the kneecap. Not my. Bang. Another gunshot, followed by a muffled scream. John stepped back, his eyes locked on the door. The pizza bag hung in his hand like dead weight. He looked left. Empty hallway. Looked right. Same. He set the pizza bag down quietly. Then he was about to get out of there. The door opened with a bang. A pale hand with black nail polish pulled it wider. Then she stepped into view. Harley Quinn. Hair in 2 messy pigtails, half pink, half blue. Bright red lipstick. Blue eyeshadow. A little star tattoo on her left cheek. She wore a red hoodie, short shorts over fishnet stockings, and boots covered in glitter and blood. She smiled like a wolf who had just finished dinner. Her smile faded when she saw John. She tilted her head. You're not my usual pizza guy. John said nothing. Where's Tony's usual meatball with arms? She asked. John kept his eyes on her hands. The gun was in her left hand, pointed at the floor. Busy, he said. Ah, that's too bad. You're kinda cute. She looked him up and down. But John's eyes were on the guy in a purple suit who crawled out of the door and tried to crawl away with bloody knees. Bang! Harley shot his butt without looking back. Ooh! John's eye twitched. That's gonna hurt. John stood frozen in the hallway, hands still half raised, while Harley Quinn leaned against the doorway like she was in the middle of hosting a tea party instead of a murder scene. The pizza bag lay forgotten at his feet. The man in purple kept groaning on the floor, dragging his shredded knees across the cheap tile. His cries were background noise now. Harley twirled the pistol on her finger once, then pointed it lazily at John's foot, not aiming, just gesturing. You ever wonder how a girl like me ends up with a guy like him? She asked, motioning behind her to the bleeding mess. Let me tell you a story. Or 2. John didn't move, didn't speak. He knew better. Harley's eyes sparkled. She grinned. The kind of grin that said, I'm about to say something really messed up, and I'll be smiling the whole time. So, Pudden, back when he wanted to impress me, he told me this real sweet story. Said, wanna know how I got these scars? Right? Classic line. Heao hong kong material. She mimicked a deep, gruff Joker voice and tilted her head, eyes wide and wild. My father was a drinker and a fiend, and one night he goes off crazier than usual. Mommy gets the kitchen knife to defend herself. He doesn't like that. Not one bit. She stepped forward, pacing slowly, like a cat in a cage. So, me watching, he takes the knife to her, laughing while he does it. Then he turns to me, and he says, why so serious, son? She licked her lips and mimed holding a knife. He comes at me with the knife. Why so serious? And he sticks the blade in my mouth. Let's put a smile on that face. She put her gun into the waistband and stretched her mouth with her fingers and whispered, and why so serious? Her voice dropped with that last line, her body still. John could feel the shift in the air. Then she blinked, snapped out of it, tilted her head the other way and chuckled. But guess what? That wasn't the real story. Not even close. That was just the version he gave me. She walked back to the doorway, stepping right over the groaning Joker like he was a stain on a rug. Last night, I got all worried. You know? He said he was going on a job, important stuff, top secret, kiss kiss goodbye. So I tail him, real sneaky, full Harley ninja mode. Harl was worried about Pudden. Couldn't help. She grinned widely, but the corners of her eyes tightened. And what do I find? Huh? You want to know? John didn't answer, just watched. I find him in some crummy apartment with this other girl, sweet little thing, all doe eyes and daddy issues, and he's spinning her the same shtick. Harley's voice dropped an octave again. Her grin turned venomous. Oh, you look nervous. Is it the scars? Want to know how I got him? Come here, look at me. So, I had a wife who was beautiful. Like you. Tells me I ought to smile more. She mimicked Joker's limp hand gestures, mocking him with eerie accuracy. She gambles, gets in deep with the sharks. One day they carve her face. We got no money for surgeries. She thinks she's hideous, but I wanted her to know that she is the most beautiful woman in my eyes. So I put a razor in my mouth and do this to myself. For her. Harley stopped in front of John again, her smile gone now, and she leaves. Can't stand the sight of me, and now I see the funny side. Now I'm always smiling. She looked down at Joker, still groaning. You believe that crap? He's been feeding different sob stories to every lost girl with eyeliner and a trauma folder. She looked up at John again, and for a second the madness slipped, just long enough to show the pain beneath. Turns out, I was just another version of the lie. Harley's smile came back, sharp and toothy. She turned, lifted her boot, and stomped hard on Joker's bullet-wounded ass. The man screamed like a banshee. His voice cracked and echoed down the hallway. Ah, shut up, you big baby, Harley muttered. She glanced at the pizza bag on the floor. Hey, is it still hot? John shrugged. She skipped over, crouched, unzipped the bag, and pulled out a box. She opened it, the steam rising like a holy offering. Oh, meat lovers. Jackpot. She picked up a slice, folded it like a pro, and took a giant bite. MMFF. Yeah. This'll do, she said, mouth full, still chewing. Tony finally listened. Extra cheese. She took another bite, sauce already on her chin. Then she kicked Joker again. That's for lying about having gout. Who even lies about gout? Another kick. That's for throwing my good hyena plushie in the trash. She paused to chew, then kicked him once more for good measure. That's for ruining my life. Joker wheezed, curled into a sad little ball of agony. His makeup was smeared, one eye swollen shut, blood splattered all over the floor. Harley licked grease from her fingers, then looked up at John. You want a slice? He shook his head slowly. No thanks. Suit yourself, she said, tearing into another slice like it owed her money. John turned and was about to walk away. Enjoy your pizza, he said. Wait. John paused. Behind him, Harley's voice had changed. She looked smaller and lonelier. I need a hug. He turned around. She was standing there with pizza in one hand, tears running down her cheeks, her mascara smudged like war paint. I know I'm a psychopath, she said. I know I'm nuts and loud and violent and did unspeakable things with a bazooka once. But right now, I just want someone to hold me for like 10 seconds without me threatening to stab them. She sniffled, then tried to smile, but it crumbled. John stared at her for a beat. Shit, she's too cute. My soft spot for Harley Quinn. Just a hug and I'm out of here. Then walked back. He opened his arms. She threw herself into the hug like she was diving into a pool. Nearly knocked him over. Don't read into this, he muttered. She said, face buried in his chest. Just 10 seconds. Just 10 seconds. You smell so good. Maybe 15. Don't push it. They stood there in the hallway, Joker moaning on the floor, a half-eaten slice of pizza still in Harley's hand. Joker groaned on the floor, blood dripping from his nose, knees wrecked, lips cracked. He rolled over just enough to glare at Harley and spit a thick wad of red onto the tile. You goddamn psychotic bitch, he growled, his voice raspy and wet. You shot me. In the ass. You shot me in the freaking behind. Harley didn't flinch. Still buried in John's arms, she just gave a small hum like she was listening to music. Joker coughed and looked up at John with one swollen eye. You, delivery boy, you want cash? Real cash? Help me. Kill her. I'll pay you anything. 10 million. 20. A blank check. Just end her and get me out of here. John didn't even look at him. He tightened his hold on Harley slightly. You're not worth half a meat lover's pizza, he muttered. Joker wheezed. You're a goddamn moron. She'll turn on you too. They all do. After lying and ruining her life, what do you expect? A medal? John said with his usual expressionless face. Harley gave Joker the finger over John's shoulder without even lifting her head. Then, a scream echoed from the stairwell. Boss! John's eyes snapped toward the sound. Guns! He moved fast. Down! He barked. He grabbed Harley, spun, and tackled her to the ground just as a barrage of bullets ripped through the hallway. The walls exploded in a hail of plaster and splinters. Fragments of wood and tile sprayed over their heads. Light fixtures shattered above. The pizza bag took a round straight through the side, exploding in a puff of pepperoni and cardboard. John held Harley close as they hit the floor hard. Her pizza slice flopped onto the tile next to them. From the stairs, 4 of Joker's goons poured in, dressed in clown-themed riot gear, SMGs in hand. One of them had a grenade belt slung across his chest like party favors. That bitch shot the boss in the ass, one yelled. Shoot around him, idiots, another screamed. Bullets ripped the hallway apart. Joker screamed again, not from the pain in his legs but from pure frustration. Stop shooting near my spine. God damn it, my kidneys. I need those to laugh properly. John and Harley crawled inside and rolled behind a tipped-over table just inside the apartment. The table didn't last long, and they somehow managed to roll behind the kitchen counter. Harley stared up at John's face. Hard lines, calm eyes, no flinch, even as bullets cracked past them and glass rained down like furious confetti. He was holding her tight, body coiled, chest heaving. And for a second, just a beat too long, she forgot about the shooting. Forgot about the Joker bleeding in the hallway. Forgot about the world. Who was this guy? She didn't know him. Delivery boy, pizza hands. He had big eyes, a low voice, and didn't talk much. One of those quiet weirdos you never notice until they're body slamming you out of a bullet storm. That's moody and broody cousin? Why was he doing this? Why put his life in danger for her? Her brain spun like a busted carousel. Guys didn't do this. Not for her. Not without strings. Or poison. Or is it a loaded laugh track and a knife in the back? Besides, she was the reason the bullets were flying. She was the psycho ex with the bleeding ex and a terrible case of emotional whiplash. He should have run. He should have let the clowns ventilate her skull and collected his tip from Satan. Instead, here he was, arms around her like a human shield with opinions. She blinked. Bullets punched holes in the cabinets above them. Why? She shouted over the gunfire, eyes locked on his. Why are you helping me? John didn't answer. He just checked her over, hands, arms, blood, not hers, and looked back at the counter. Good. She ain't hurt. The man had the emotional range of a toaster. She huffed. You some kind of white knight in crusty jeans? Or what? Still nothing. Just a flicker in his brow. Are you, like, into me or something? She asked, still panting. Like love at first sight? I just didn't want you to die while holding pizza, he muttered. Oh my God, that's the sweetest thing anyone's ever said to me. Harley. Yes, love. Shut up and look for your gun. She reached for her gun, the one she'd tucked into her waistband like a cocky idiot. Gone. Of course it was gone. Had to have skidded under something during the roll. She patted the floor. Nothing but dust and a lone pepperoni slice sliding slowly toward the fridge. Shit, she whispered. It ditched me. Unreliable little traitor. Yeah, John said without looking. He was watching the hallway like a hawk, eyes tracking movement between bursts of gunfire. He peeked over the edge of the table. One of the goons was trying to flank. He ducked back just as a bullet nicked the tabletop and sprayed chips across his knuckles. Joker's voice came from outside. Keep shooting. Shred them to smithereens. Ahahaha. Bitch. Just how many goons did he call? John asked.
No idea.
10? 20?
No idea. Nada.
Harley scrambled, scanning the floor like she was hunting for an earring. There, under the radiator, her pistol, spun just out of reach. Of course. She rolled onto her stomach, wiggled forward. John's hand shot out, grabbed her belt. Too exposed. Don't kink shame me right now. I'm busy. Harley. I almost got it. Another burst screamed past. She grabbed the gun, twisted, and kicked back toward cover. John yanked her the last couple of feet. She landed in a heap next to him, victorious, gun in hand.
Kahndaq.
Good. Now shoot. With pleasure, love. She popped up, pistol first, and fired 3 quick shots. One of the goons dropped with a grunt, purple feathers flying from his clown wig. Oh, right in the nose hole. You see that? She yelled. Focus. Let me have this. Another hail of bullets sent them ducking again. She shot down another one. The bullet hit the poor guy's groin. A burst of laughter popped from Harley's throat as the second clown dropped, squealing like a stepped-on squeaky toy. She pumped her fist in the air before John pulled her down. 2 for 1 special. That's a BOGO, baby. She peeked up again and, click, Harley blinked, pulled the trigger again. Click. Oh no. She looked at the gun like it had personally betrayed her. Really? You run out of bullets now? After everything we've been through? She said, shaking it like it owed her child support. I fed you. I cleaned you. I let you shoot my ex's butt cheek. John's eyes were already scanning. How many shots did you fire? I dunno. 2? 3? Plus the kneecap. Yes. Worth it. A metallic clink bounced against the tile next to them. Harley turned her head. Her face froze. Ah hell. Grenade. John grabbed her, one arm around her waist, the other cradling the back of her head like he was dipping her for a dance. Except this dance ended in defenestration. They crashed backward through the already half-shattered window, glass raining around them in sparkly death confetti. Harley shriek-laughed the whole way down. Who? Geronimo. Boom. The explosion behind them blew out what little was left of the apartment wall. A shockwave of fire punched them mid-air, sending them flying like two action figures yeeted by a sugar rush toddler. They hit a dumpster with a loud, fleshy thunk, metal echoing like a gong in a comedy funeral. Harley bounced once, then rolled, and landed on top of John, face first into his chest. Silence, then a muffled groan. Ugh, John. Harley lifted her head, hair a mess, mascara a war crime, her face a perfect O of wide-eyed shock and delight. We lived. My back. John just blinked up at the sky like it had personally betrayed him. Barely. Don't be so dramatic. It was a soft garbage landing, all banana peels and broken dreams. She sniffed. Okay, and maybe a little rat pee. She sat up on his chest, straddling him like a very chaotic cowboy. Bits of pepperoni stuck to her elbow. She flicked one off and inspected his face. Although chaotic, but for a moment, John noticed the other side of her. A tiny flicker of a worried face, which was instantly replaced by that classic grin. Eyes working, Harley said. She then opened his lips and checked. Teeth all right. She touched his ears and checked. Ears still symmetrical and not shot. Good. I think my spine left without me. Oh, poor Spiny, he cooed, poking his nose. You need some chiropractic revenge later. John groaned again. Get off. Harley grinned, didn't move an inch. Ah, but you're so comfy. Like a hot beanbag with commitment issues. He raised one eyebrow. She sighed dramatically. Fine, fine. But I'm gonna remember this. You and me. Garbage ballet. We made art, baby. She slid off him with all the grace of a drunken cat, then reached down and helped him sit up. Behind them, the fire alarm in the building started howling. Screams and distant gunshots still echoed from above. Sirens, too. John winced and rubbed his shoulder. You okay? She asked.
No.
Cool, me neither. She plopped down beside him on the asphalt. Both of them slumped against the dumpster like the world's weirdest couple's photo shoot. She glanced sideways at him. You ever think maybe fate brought us together? She asked. John coughed. You mean the grenade? No, not that fate. Like the metaphorical kind. The meet-cute one. You, me, pizza. Bloodshed, betrayal, and now garbage hugs. I didn't hug you in the garbage. You fell with intent. John didn't answer, just stared at the road. Harley leaned her head on his shoulder. You're weird, she whispered. He didn't argue. Then she lifted a soggy slice of meat lovers from the bin between them. It was half melted, probably contaminated with 7 flavors of dumpster disease. She offered it to him. Still want a slice? John slapped that piece away from her hand as he stood up. Get out of here before your ex's goons arrive. God, I need a bath and a new job. He walked away, leaving Harley there alone, or that's what he thought. Harley kept following him, keeping her distance and hiding here and there. Not to mention, she was giggling when a couple of street dogs were barking at him for the whole 3 minutes, but he didn't even bother with them and kept walking. John finally stopped before his tiny apartment. The heavy rain washed some grime and smell from his body. He sighed and looked back. Yup, there she was hiding in the alley. He could see her thanks to the car parked near that alley. The car's side mirror. John walked to the alley, the rain soaking his hoodie and darkening the cement beneath his boots. He stopped just short of the dumpster, looking down at the soggy figure sitting with her back against the brick wall. Harley had her arms wrapped around her knees like a sad clown at the end of a party. Her pigtails drooped. Her makeup looked like a watercolor crime scene. You've been following me for 10 blocks, John said, voice flat. Harley didn't look up. She sniffled loudly. You have really loud boots, you know that? He crossed his arms. And those dogs weren't helping. Harley sniffed again and finally glanced up at him. Her eyeliner had merged with her tears into a kind of abstract sadness painting. You mad at me? She asked, voice small.
No.
You sure? Yes. Because you kinda stomped away like you hated me and also pizza. John stared at her. The rain continued to pour. He could have just walked away. He should have. Any rational person would have. Instead, he sighed, long and low, the sigh of a man who had accepted that chaos had moved in and brought glitter. "Come inside," he said. Her head shot up. "For real?" "Yes, but don't make a mess." Harley's eyes lit up like someone had just offered her a pet hyena and a birthday cake in one go. She scrambled to her feet and saluted him. "Yes, sir. No mes. Cross my heart and hope to avoid another grenade bath." John turned and walked back toward the apartment. She bounced behind him like a soaked puppy with clown makeup. "So," she said, practically skipping, "do you have snacks? I'm low on blood sugar. That tends to be when my worst decisions happen." "Figures," John muttered. She gasped dramatically. "Do you not have snacks? Because I swear, if I walk into a sad bachelor apartment with 0 snacks, I will scream. You can scream outside." "Fair." They reached the door. John unlocked it and stepped inside. His place was small, bare, and dim. A couch that might have been stolen from a doctor's waiting room, a table with 1 chair, and a big box TV in the OLED and holographic era. It didn't smell bad, but it didn't smell good either. Neutral. Like a man who survived on ramen and regret. Harley stepped in and immediately kicked off her boots, leaving muddy clown print socks on the tile. She spotted the couch, ran toward it, and flopped down like a toddler after recess. "Oh, squishy. This is the kind of couch you only find in murder documentaries or Craigslist ads with bad lighting." John locked the door and kicked off his own boots. "Told you not to make a mess. Get up. There's the bathroom." He pointed at the closed door on the right. "Take a bath. Use the body wash, not the soap. The towel's inside, and there's an old robe. Wear that." Harley stared at him like he'd just handed her a key to Disney World and a bazooka at the same time. "A bath?" she said, mouth slightly open. "John, like, for me. Do you see anyone else here?" She blinked. "I mean, technically no, but emotionally, I'm carrying a lot of ghosts." "Shower. Now." "Yes, Daddy." She jumped down, her clothes making that awful schlorp sound of wet fabric peeling off pleather. She walked toward the bathroom like a defeated swamp rat. Halfway there, she turned back. "So, is this one of those situations when, after bathing, when I open the cabinet, there won't be any towels? Then I'll peek out asking for a towel, and then you will bring me a towel, but instead of handing it over, you'll pull me out naked and we'll have some wet fun? Like that movie, Staying on Top." John narrowed his eyes, pointed his finger toward the door. "Bath. Now." Tee-hee-hee. Harley quickly went inside while laughing. The door closed. There was a loud clunk, followed by muffled humming, then the sound of something falling. A shampoo bottle? A shelf? A toothbrush cup? "Don't come in here. That was on purpose," she shouted from behind the door. "Ooh, lavender body wash and jasmine soap." She mumbled a bit too loudly. John stood there for a moment. What did I just do? His socks squished audibly, probably judging him for every life choice that led to this moment. He rubbed his temples, took one breath, and caught a whiff of himself. Ugh! Rain, gunpowder, blood, and dumpster juice. The signature cologne of people with bad luck and worse timing. He took off his shirt, already regretting offering Harley the only good towel. He rummaged in the closet and found a backup towel that smelled faintly of mothballs. Good enough. His eyes went toward the wet couch. He sighed again before wiping his body. After that, he started cleaning up the wet spot. The bathroom door opened 30 minutes later. A cloud of steam poured out from inside. Harley stepped out wrapped in the robe, her hair wet and curling around her face like someone trying to cosplay a tired poodle. The robe dragged on the floor and covered her hands entirely, making her look like a depressed cultist. I feel like a soggy marshmallow. Oh, wow. She stopped dead in the hallway like a cartoon character spotting a pie on a windowsill. Her eyes locked onto John, who stood in the middle of the room, shirtless, still toweling off his wet hair. The dim kitchen light glinted off his chest like he was in a low-budget cologne commercial. Damp, muscled, scars, and very much wrapped in nothing but a towel that looked like it had been stolen from a motel in 1986. Her jaw dropped slightly. "Holy abs," she whispered. John didn't look at her. He was busy patting down the back of his neck with the raggedy towel and completely ignoring the wide-eyed, slightly trembling clown girl gawking at him. "Is this what you look like under all that broody silence?" Harley muttered, inching forward like she was stalking a majestic, damp jungle cat. "You walk around with that 'don't talk to me or my trauma ever again' face, and meanwhile, you're smuggling 2 kegs and a roadmap to Sin City under that hoodie?" John sighed loudly. "Don't start." "Oh, it's already started, hot sad man," she said, clutching the robe tighter like she was afraid her ovaries might jump out and embarrass her. "You got muscles in places I didn't even know muscles had the right to live." He glanced at her, one eyebrow raised. "Are you done?" "Not even close. I've got material for days." She pointed at his abs. "That one? That's the I carry trauma and possibly women from burning buildings muscle." Then his shoulders. "Those? That's I hug like I mean it and maybe accidentally crack a rib. But it's okay because I'll kiss it better shoulders." She pointed at his arms now. "And those are just rude. Like call the cops rude. You could crush me with those. Politely. I could also throw you out the window." "Oh, baby." She fanned herself with her sleeve. "We going full 50 Shades or just skipping to the get outta my apartment part?" John didn't even respond, just brushed past her. He disappeared into the bathroom with a door slam that was more annoyed than angry. Harley stood in the hallway alone. She sighed, dramatically, like someone who'd just been denied a free cupcake and an emotional support boyfriend in one go. "Rude," she whispered before running toward the couch and flopping down again. She took a deep breath and let it out like a balloon giving up. Her fingers tugged absently at the robe belt. She muttered to herself, "You know, Harley, you could have stayed home today. Could have had cereal. Could have murdered some creep with a crowbar. Could have watched reruns of that So Raven and trauma-danced your feelings out." He blinked at the ceiling. "Instead, you followed a pizza delivery ninja through a hallway massacre, almost blew your butt off. Now you're sitting on a stranger's couch smelling like lavender and crying on the inside." She looked toward the bathroom door again. Water was running. Steam snuck out under the door like it was trying to escape the awkward tension. Harley flopped onto her side. "What am I doing here?" she said into the couch cushion. The cushion didn't answer. "Rude." Her voice cracked a little. "I mean, he's nice, sure. In that emotionally constipated man of mystery. I saw war and now I sleep with one eye open kind of way. But he doesn't smile. He doesn't talk. He looks like he eats nails and bathes in gasoline. And I'm just..." She sat up slowly, wiping her eyes with the sleeve of the robe. "I'm just a walking meltdown in a robe and poor life decisions. Mr. J will now search for Harl and try to kill her. I should have shot his head instead of butt. But Puffy, but every time he tries to sit, he'll remember Lil ol Harl." A few minutes of arguing with the couch and herself, she sat up, pulled the robe tighter, and glanced toward the bathroom. Steam was leaking out from under the door like a smoke machine on discount. You could hear him in there. The water, the occasional thud of a shampoo bottle hitting the wall. Maybe he was trying to scrub the regret off his soul. She stood and wandered toward the kitchen like a raccoon who'd been kicked out of a rave. She opened the fridge. Inside was a half-empty bottle of mustard, 2 cans of beer, and something that might have been lasagna back in 1997. "No snacks," she whispered in horror. "He's worse than I thought." Then the bathroom door creaked open. John stepped out, now in sweatpants and a black t-shirt. His hair was damp, his eyes tired, his skin steaming slightly from the hot shower. Harley just stared. "You clean up nice," she said softly, voice smaller now. He raised an eyebrow. "I mean, still kind of broody and unapproachable, but now with less garbage juice." John ignored the compliment and walked past her to the kitchen. He opened the fridge, stared at the mustard like it had personally betrayed him, then shut it again. "You hungry?" he asked. Harley nodded, curling her fingers around the robe sleeves like a child in a borrowed blanket. There are 2 cup noodles in the cupboard, he said, walking toward the cupboard. You cookin' for me? She asked, hopeful. I'm boiling water and pouring it in the pre-made cup. That's not cooking. That's surviving. Oh, hot and modest. Be still, my tragic little heart. 45 minutes earlier, just after the explosion had blown out a quarter of the top floor. Flames, smoke, and debris were scattered everywhere, not to mention the heavy rain. This is bullshit, Joker spat, slipping on the edge of a puddle. She shot me in the ass. That's crossing a line. Now I won't be able to sit anymore. And my kneecap, that bitch, I won't be able to walk straight anymore. What would bats think? Crippled opponent. No. The larger of the 2 goons, still clutching an SMG, shouted over the wind, Boss, we gotta move. That blast lit up half the block. Joker staggered forward, eyes wild. I'll kill her. I'll cut her open and fill her with fireworks. Hey, I'll put a laugh track in her lungs. They somehow managed to drag him down the stairs and were about to head toward their cars when a heavy tijom echoed overhead. It was mechanical and rhythmic. One of the goons halted suddenly. Boss? Do you hear that? Joker paused. Eyes narrowed. From above the building, something descended. A black VTOL jet. Silent at first. Then the sound surged. Hover rotors, stealth thrusters, and electromagnetic scanners flickering blue along its belly. Task Force X had arrived. Inside the cockpit, Amanda Waller's hologram stood with her arms crossed, looking down at the infrared display. Target confirmed. Joker. 2 clowns with him. Bomb residue all over the rooftop. Signature matches stolen GCPD tech from 6 weeks ago. She turned her head slightly. Flag. Rick Flag, sitting in the co-pilot's seat, locked and loaded, gave a sharp nod. Copy. Deploying assets. The VTOL's rear hatch opened. 3 figures leapt out. Peacemaker, helmet gleaming, automatic rifle ready. Katana, silent, sword already in hand. Bloodsport, guns attached to his arms via magnetic armor, eyes scanning the drop. They landed hard on the rooftop. Joker's eyes widened. Oh shit. The 3 landed in a triangle around him. Peacemaker cracked his neck. You're under arrest for violating at least 7 federal ordinances. Domestic terrorism, bringing me here in this shithole raining mess, and being a total prick. Joker looked around wildly. You government freaks again? What's next? Gonna throw me in another exploding collar daycare center. He turned to run, but Bloodsport was faster. He fired a high-velocity net that wrapped Joker mid-limp. ZZZZZZZT electric shock. Joker screamed and collapsed, twitching. The 2 goons raised their weapons. Katana didn't even flinch. She moved at an inhumane speed. 2 slices and a second later, their heads rolled on the ground as blood spurted out of their severed neck like a fountain. Their bodies spasm on the wet ground, covered in blood and rain. Back at John's apartment, the rain had slowed, just tapping now. Inside John's apartment, things were quiet. He sat on the floor against the wall, eating cup noodles. Harley sat cross-legged on the couch in the oversized robe, her hair wrapped in a towel like a cone of cotton candy. She slurped from her own cup, eyes locked on the TV. It was tuned to a local news station. Breaking news. Massive explosion in downtown Fawcett City tonight. Authorities have no confirmed death toll, but multiple eyewitnesses claim it involved the Joker and his gang. Government agents were reportedly seen on site. Task Force X assets were deployed. The camera cut to shaky cell phone footage of Peacemaker dragging Joker, electrocuted, growling and drooling. 1 week later, Fawcett City, John Mason's apartment. The sun filtered weakly through a cracked window in John's apartment, doing its best to brighten a place that had made peace with the shadows. Dust floated lazily through the air. The coffee pot burbled like it was trying to die with dignity. Somewhere under the couch, a sock was actively growing mold. And in the middle of it all, Harley Quinn, on the floor, wearing a mismatched pair of John's sweatpants and a tank top that said, "Guns and Mental Breakdowns." She was cross-legged, hair in wild pigtails, no makeup, and entirely absorbed in yelling at a cartoon on the old box TV. "N.O., N.O., N.O., you stupid duck. You don't make deals with the weasel mob. They'll double-cross you and eat your breadsticks. God." She hurled a pillow across the room. It hit the fridge and slid down with a pitiful flop. John, standing in the kitchen in a t-shirt and flannel pajama pants, didn't even flinch. He sipped his coffee, eyes heavy with the 1,000-yard stare of a man who hadn't had his own bathroom mirror to himself in a week. "Is this going to be your whole morning?" he asked. Harley turned dramatically, eyes wide, clutching her imaginary pearls. "Excuse you. My whole morning started with existential dread and a cold Pop-Tart. So maybe let me process my feelings through cartoon violence, huh?" John looked at the empty box of Pop-Tarts in the trash. "You ate 6. I had feelings 6 times. He walked over and opened the fridge. Harley watched him like a raccoon sizing up a dumpster. "Don't even think about it," she warned. "What?" "That last yogurt cup. It's mine. I wrote my name on it in eyeliner." He looked. Sure enough, there was a smudged H on the foil lid in what might have been mascara. "Or blood. You mooch everything else. You don't get to claim dairy rights." "It's cherry vanilla. I die for cherry vanilla. You'll survive." "You don't know that," she pouted. "My bones are delicate. You got thrown through a window and landed in a dumpster. You're not delicate." Harley paused. "Okay, first of all, rude. Second, dumpsters are softer than people think. Third, I fell on top of you. It was a soft landing. You saved my ass. So you must know how delicate I am." She did a little pose, arms out like a gymnast who just made an extra flip and landed on her coach. John shut the fridge. "There's nothing in here. You ate everything. How the hell do you keep your body in shape?" "You could have shopped yesterday," she said, now chewing on the TV remote. "Instead, you spent 3 hours at that creepy thrift bookstore buying another depressing novel about lonely cowboys. They were samurai. Same thing. Tragic loners with swords and no emotional vocabulary." He poured more coffee and stared at her over the rim of the mug. "You're still here." "Yup. Like mold, only cuter," she said brightly. "And guess what?" John didn't ask. "I washed the dishes. Sort of. Well, I rinsed 2 of them. The rest are soaking." "In what? Beer?" "Possibly." He walked to the tiny table and sat down, opening the newspaper. Harley rolled across the floor like a log and popped up next to him, chin on the table. "You ever think maybe this is fate?" "Fate? Me? You? Our lives colliding like 2 trash barges in the harbor of destiny." John didn't look up. "No." Harley leaned closer. "You snore, by the way." "I don't." "You do. It's not loud. Just tragic. Like the sound of a man haunted by all the groceries he never bought." John sighed through his nose. "You want to keep crashing here," he said slowly. "You need to get a job." Harley snorted so hard it turned into a full laugh. She fell off her chair and landed in a pile of mismatched socks. "A job? You want me? Harley freaking Quinn, PhD, chaos connoisseur, 2-time Arkham Escape champion, to work retail?" John took a sip of coffee. "I was thinking something less customer-facing." "Ooh, like robbing an ATM," she said, popping back up. "Perfect. I'll crack open a few tonight, just a couple, to renovate this place and maybe buy a new toaster. The one from the billboard poster in the gas station."
"No.
"No what?"
No ATM abri."
"Ugh, you are such a buzzkill, you know that?" she said, slopping down dramatically on the floor, again, like Batman, but with less money and more moral constipation. John didn't respond. He just took another sip of coffee like it was aspirin for the conversation. Harley propped her feet up on the table. Listen, she said with wild sincerity. I got a plan. I knock over, say, 4 ATMs. Maybe 5. Depends on how giddy I feel after the first one. Then we ditch this dingy apartment, yeah? John didn't look up. I'm talking a nice place, like a real home, fireplace, fridge with an ice maker, bath towels that match. You're gonna commit multiple felonies for better bath towels? And curtains, she added proudly. Then, once we've stacked enough green, I'll get plastic surgery. Boom. New face, new name. No more bounty posters. You're already hard to track. Exactly. But now I'll be unrecognizable and hot. You're already... John paused, realized where she was steering the conversation, and backpedaled. That's not the point. Harley kept going undeterred. Then we leave the country. Somewhere warm, quiet. Maybe Argentina. Maybe a farm. No more cops, no more Joker. No more Task Force X breathing down our necks. She went back up on the chair again and leaned in close now, eyes wide with a kind of chaotic sparkle that could light a city or burn it down. We settle in. Live normal. Get married. Have kids. You name the first one. I name the second. We raise them right.
Te acha industrial responsible.
Get 2 pet hyenas, a couple of dogs, maybe a cat. Grow some potatoes. I'll wear overalls. You'll chop wood shirtless. She took a breath, dreamy now. We'll have pie. I'll learn to bake. You'll teach me how to use a shotgun without dislocating my shoulder again. John just stared at her, unblinking. You done? Harley grinned. Not even close. But go ahead, dream killer. Tell me it's not romantic. It's not romantic. Oh, come on. How is that not the most romantic thing you've ever heard? John pointed at her. Robbing 5 ATMs, committing fraud, surgically altering your face, and dragging me to rural Argentina to raise chaos-spawn hyenas, dogs and cats and then children. It is not romance. Harley looked mock-wounded. You say that now, but you wait. Once you're chopping wood with your shirt off while I'm yelling about burnt pie crust, you'll think back to this moment and weep with gratitude. He rubbed his temples. You need a real job, and I need a waffle iron, she said with a shrug. We don't always get what we want. John stood, mug in hand, and walked to the sink. I'll talk to Tony. See if he needs help at the pizzeria. Harley wrinkled her nose. You want me to work for Pizza Guy? You already eat for free. Might as well earn it. Harley gasped. Are you pimping me out for marinara? He raised one eyebrow. She smiled slowly. I like it. Spicy. Jesus Christ, John muttered, rinsing his mug. Harley leaned back in her chair, arms behind her head, eyes drifting up to the ceiling. But seriously, if we ever do move to Argentina, I want a goat. I'll name her Barbara. I'm calling Waller and telling her where you are. You'd miss me. Unfortunately, Harley grinned. Then it's settled. We're roommates with unspoken crazy tension and potential for mild war crimes. Like a sitcom. Only Messier. John just muttered under his breath and walked toward the door. Where are you going? She called. To talk to Tony. Harley pointed finger guns at him. Tell him I'm a hard worker, good with knives, and only mildly unpredictable on Wednesdays. John paused in the doorway. And Harley? Yeah.
No robbing ATMs.
Fine. I'll rob a vending machine. You never said vending machines. He shut the door behind him with a sigh. Through the wall, he could hear her giggling like a lunatic. He was already regretting it. But it was too late. The chaos had a key now. Noon. The sky was a dull gray. Like it was thinking about raining again but hadn't fully committed. Humidity clung to the air. The sidewalks shimmered faintly with old puddles and smudged gum stains. Harley Quinn pulled her red hoodie over her head and locked the door to John's apartment with a little hum on her lips and a twirl of the key. She tucked it into the hidden pocket inside her sweatpants. The one she swore she'd return but had absolutely no intention of giving back. They were comfy. Dangerous people didn't give up comfy pants. She glanced both ways down the street. Nobody. No Task Force X.
No Joker Guns. No ninjas. No flaming hyenas.
So far, so good. Stay safe. Apartment full of tragic male energy, she whispered before skipping down the steps like a sugar-fueled assassin. She had no plan. Correction. She had 3 plans and all of them were stupid. But in her world, stupid usually meant fun. Plan A, find food. John's fridge was a sad, echoing cavern. A black hole where nutrition went to die. Plan B, acquire some cash. Not robbery per se. More like reallocation of funds. Plan C, revisit some old enemies. Namely, her ex. The one who had 2 kneecaps a week ago and probably swore revenge while applying but bandages. Harley grinned as she bounced down the street. Time to pay mama's bills. Kahndaq. Black site. Level 7. Secure military interrogation facility. Location. Classified. It was a regular interrogation cell. A single metal table sat between them. Chains rattled as Joker adjusted in his seat, arms cuffed, legs shackled to the floor. The lights buzzed overhead with a hum that could drive a sane man mad or comfort the insane. Across from him sat Amanda Waller. That cold, expressionless face could make most criminals shit. But not him. Never him. He was smiling. His mouth was split with that familiar, crusted grin. One eye was swollen shut from the Peacemaker takedown. His hands twitched occasionally, like they missed holding something sharp. Behind a one-way glass, Peacemaker and Bloodsport watched in silence. Well, one of them was silent. Peacemaker leaned against the wall, arms crossed. I give it 10 minutes before she makes him piss himself. Bloodsport didn't answer. 5 if she cut off his balls, Peacemaker added. Inside. So, Waller said, tapping the screen. Let's talk about explosives. Joker leaned back until the chair creaked. Oh, I love explosions. Big ones. Loud ones. The kind that leave teeth in neighboring zip codes. He giggled, then licked his lips. You got a favorite, Walsey? I bet you're a C4 gal. Classy, controllable. Not too flashy. Waller didn't blink. We intercepted chatter 2 weeks ago about a weapons convoy hijacked en route to a secure military depot in Arizona.
Classified cargo.
Stolen from under our nose. Oh, yes, I heard about that, Joker said, eyes gleaming. Tragic. A real whoopsie-daisy on National Defense's part. You stole it. Did I? He leaned in, chains rattling. Me? Lil old me? I mean, you'd need a serious plan.
Satellite blind zone.
Corrupt officers, diversion convoys, exploding goats, and maybe a trained dolphin depending on the route. That's a lot of work, Amanda. You hijacked a military truck moving RDX, HMX, Tetrol, and enough TNT to flatten half a city. You disappeared it without leaving a single trail. Joker's grin widened. Magic! Waller's tone hardened. Where is it? Joker giggled. No, you're skipping ahead. That's not how we play this game. This is foreplay, Mandy. You don't just walk in, tie me up, and ask where I'm hiding my toys, unless you are into one of those kinky foreplay. She leaned forward, her face cold as ice. I know what you are. I know how you work. You don't steal that kind of firepower unless you have a plan. Do I look like a guy with a plan? Waller's eyes narrowed. Yes, you do. You just don't follow one. Joker burst out laughing, loud and wheezy, like a car crash in slow motion. The kind of laugh that filled up the room and squeezed the air out of it. Oh, that's rich. You get me. Amanda, you really get me. He slammed his cuffs on the table like it was the punchline to a joke only he could hear. Behind the glass, Peacemaker tilted his head. Is he flirting with her? Bloodsport didn't move. I think he's flirting with her. Inside the room, Joker was calm enough to wipe a trickle of blood from his lip with his tongue. See, here's the thing, Walsey. You got your B-listers out there always planning. Blueprints, schedules, PowerPoints. I mean, have you seen Riddler's murder board? It's like a TED Talk hosted by a serial killer. He leaned forward with a rare, serious expression. But me? I don't plan. I simply act on impulse. That's what makes it beautiful. You people spend millions trying to predict threats, building algorithms, running scenarios, but you can't predict chaos, Amanda. Chaos doesn't tick in neat little boxes. Waller didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't blink. Joker's voice curled around the room like smoke. You're scared of that, aren't you? That no matter how many cameras you wire, how many files you flag, I'll still slit your throat in the 1 second your system hiccups. Not because I want to kill you, oh no, that's too easy, but because it's funny. Because you'd never see it coming. Waller stood slowly. Her chair scraped the floor like a blade dragged across tile. Joker watched her, head tilted, smile unwavering. Okay, she said. You want to play games? She walked to the door and pressed a button on the wall. Bring in the boys. A mechanical buzz, a click, and the door opened. Peacemaker strolled in first, cracking his knuckles, followed by Bloodsport. Joker's smile didn't fade, but his eyes flickered. Waller left. Oh, he sang. Daddy's home, and he brought his angrier boyfriend. Peacemaker walked right up to him and slammed both fists onto the table. You think this is funny? Yes, Joker whispered, grinning. This part especially. Waller stepped aside, folding her arms. You've had your time to talk. Now they'll get their turn. Peacemaker moved behind Joker, yanked his head back by the hair. Joker winced, but his grin stayed. Got a message from that convoy's driver, Peacemaker said, leaning down. He's blind in one eye now, half a jaw, lost 3 ribs and pisses in a bag. He grabbed a baton from his belt, flicked it out, said the guy who did it, laughed the whole time. Sounds like a hoot, Joker said through clenched teeth. The baton cracked down on his ribs. Thwack. Joker wheezed, breath caught somewhere between a laugh and a scream. Bloodsport didn't say a word. He walked to the side table, rolled up a canvas kit, and started laying out tools. Scalpels, pliers, a bone saw, something that looked like a dentist's drill and smelled like burnt copper. Ooh, now that's new. Floyd 2.0's got an upgrade. What's next? Teeth pulling? Nail stuff? Maybe we skip to flaying? Joker said, still laughing. Bloodsport walked over, calm as a surgeon, and knelt beside him. No, we're going to start small. He grabbed Joker's hand, cuffed tight. Just need 1 finger. Joker blinked. Middle one, I assume? Bloodsport didn't answer. He twisted. A pop cracked through the room as Joker's pinky dislocated. Hee, ah-ha-ha-ha-ha. Joker's laughter echoed in that tiny cell. Peacemaker smirked. You're not gonna last long. You know that, right? Joker shivered with delight. Oh, I don't last at anything. I'm more of a climax and run kind of guy. Crack. Another finger. Joker laughed again, louder. Peacemaker slammed the baton on his face. Bloodsport spoke. We're not here to beat you. We're here to break you. He leaned in close to Joker's ear. There's a difference. Joker chuckled weakly, blood leaking down his chin. You ever thought maybe I want to break? Maybe I'm trying to see how far it goes before even you start enjoying this. Peacemaker stepped in. Enough of the foreplay. He pulled out a military-grade shock collar and strapped it around Joker's neck. Joker's eyes went wide for a second. What's the safe word? He rasped. Peacemaker grinned. There isn't one. He hit the button.
ZZZZT.
Joker convulsed, the table shaking beneath him. His laugh turned to a gargling howl. Bloodsport grabbed a scalpel. Waller's voice came over the intercom. You've got 5 minutes. Then I want a location. Or pieces. 5 minutes later, Peacemaker's patience snapped. With a growl, he drew his sidearm and shoved the barrel against Joker's forehead. Blood dripped from Joker's nose, lip, ears. Tell me where the bombs are, Peacemaker said through clenched teeth. Or I paint this wall with your skull. Then I'll rip out your balls and shove them down your neck. Joker wheezed. His voice came out thin and cracked, like a bad signal through a busted speaker. What time is it? Bloodsport paused mid-reach. Peacemaker stiffened. The hell did you say? Peacemaker asked. Joker coughed, a bubble of blood bursting at the corner of his mouth. His tongue licked it clean with unsettling care. I said, he chuckled, spitting red across the table. What time is it? Bloodsport looked at the wall clock. 11:07. Joker smiled through broken teeth. Oh, good. Right on schedule. He leaned back, as much as his chains allowed, and tilted his head toward the ceiling. You boys ever try mixing HMX with a dash of VX nerve agent and a slow burn RDX casing? No? Fun stuff. Quiet at first. Then boom. Nerve melt, lung collapse, and everybody within a city block turns to twitching jelly. Then, depending on the wind and weather, it'll spread like a freaking plague. Bloodsport moved first. Where? Joker's laugh was low now. A rasp. Fawcett City, he whispered. Downtown. Library. School. Hospital. Pizza shop. Maybe a petting zoo if we're lucky. Peacemaker grabbed his collar. Where in Fawcett? There are 20, Joker hissed. 20 lovely little parcels. Spread all over town. All synced. All counting down. His voice cracked into a sing-song hum. 1 hour left, boys. Give or take traffic. Then he turned his gaze toward the one-way glass. He couldn't see her, but he knew Waller was there. He smiled, soft and slow. Tick, tock, Mandy. Boom. The walls trembled. Dust rained from the ceiling. The lights flickered. An alarm wailed to life, red beacons flashing across the hallway outside. Joker's head snapped back as he let out a sound that could only be described as pure madness. Ah, che, ha ha ia, ha 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 ha, hoo hoo. Oh, this is too good. Blood poured from his mouth, but he didn't stop. His whole body shook with glee. Peacemaker backed off, staring. Bloodsport cursed under his breath and bolted for the door. Joker's laughter bounced off the steel walls like shrapnel. Let's see how good your task force really is, Wally, he shrieked. Let's see how many little meat puppets you can save before they all go pop, pop, pop. He leaned forward, face split by a grin not even pain could kill. Then he spat out a broken tooth with a tracker. Round 2, he whispered. Fight. Red warning lights. Sirens. Somewhere down the corridor, a secondary explosion shook the floor. Amanda Waller didn't flinch. She walked toward her escape route. One hand was already at her earpiece. The other tapped a biometric panel beside a thick security door. It hissed open, revealing a concealed corridor leading deeper underground. Bloodsport, she said into the comm package the Joker. You're moving to Site Echo. Secure him under Level 10 lockdown. Blackout cell. No sound. No light. No one in or out without my approval. Bloodsport's voice crackled back. Roger that. He was already yanking Joker out of the chair, shoving a needle full of sedative into his neck. Joker's grin twitched as he slumped. Oh, sight to sight. Feels like a field trip. Bloodsport tightened the restraints and slung him over his shoulder like a sack of rot. Shut up. Waller tapped again. Peacemaker. I'm here. Get the clown. We've got a breach team in the facility. No one unauthorized gets out. You lead Task Force X. Contain it. Neutralize intruders. Capture whoever's calling the shots. Copy. Kill first. Ask questions while reloading. Make it fast. We've got bombs in play. Waller's secure room. Moments later, the heavy blast doors sealed behind her. Waller slid into the command chair and started the computer. She tapped a few keys, then slammed a red button. Secure Justice Conference call. Encrypted. Waller wanted to contact the Justice Society too, but they weren't on good terms with each other, and she didn't want them to tear apart the city with their unconventional means. 3 faces appeared on screen. Superman, standing on a rooftop. Batman, in the Batcave. Flash, eating pizza on a rooftop. Waller didn't waste time. We have an incident. Joker planted 20 bombs across Fawcett City. Nerve Agent combined with HMX, RDX, and possibly VX. Coordinated. The timer has already started. He said the bombs are synced. Batman leaned in. Casualty risk? If they go off? Tens of thousands. Flash cut in, voice distorted by motion. I can cover the city in under 10 seconds if I know what I'm looking for. Batman was already typing. Joker likes symbolism. Look for clusters near landmarks or places with emotional resonance. Superman's gaze lifted. I'll start with the hospitals. If even one bomb goes off, it's a massacre. Joker said this is round 2, Waller said, looking at Batman. Which means he prepared more. There could be more explosives out there. Gotham, Metropolis, Bloodhaven, could be anywhere out there. You know Joker better than anyone. You know how he works. Stop Joker's plan. Batman. Batcave. Batman had already informed the remaining members of the Justice League and was going through the satellite feeds. There's only one person who knows everything about Joker and his plans. Harley Quinn. Fawcett City, noon, downtown. The sun burned overhead, indifferent to the chaos below. The black armored truck barreled through Midtown, sirens off, windows tinted. Bloodsport sat across from Joker inside, his finger hovering near the panic trigger. Joker was strapped to a steel chair, mouth gagged, head tilted like a broken puppet. His eyes twitched slightly. Then came the first shot. The reinforced windshield spiderwebbed. The driver slumped forward, dead. 2 more shots punched through the front tires. Rubber exploded. The truck lurched. Bloodsport's body slammed against the wall as the vehicle lost control. It skidded sideways, tires shrieking across pavement. A magnetic disc that was lying on the road flew up as if someone knew exactly where the car would skid. Boom! The explosion lifted the truck like a kicked can. It flipped twice, metal clanking, until it slammed roof down into the intersection. Smoke poured from the wreckage. Bloodsport dragged himself out, ears ringing, ribs screaming. He saw his escort team, what was left of them. 6 trained men, reduced to silence in seconds inside the vehicle. Precision kills, headshots.
No guastidamo.
He then quickly dragged Joker out of the burning truck and threw him on the road. Then the shooter stepped into the light. Deadshot. Leather, armor, the signature wrist cannons. His mask caught the sun like a mirror. His eyes were fixed on Joker. Bloodsport spat blood, rose to his feet, and unholstered 2 compact rifles from his back holster. He said nothing. Deadshot tilted his head. I figured they'd send a pro, Deadshot said. Didn't think they'd send you. Bloodsport fired. Bullets zipped before words did. Deadshot dove sideways, wrist cannons lighting up mid-roll. Bloodsport countered with a burst from his twin rifles, the recoil kicking through his bruised frame. Shattered glass and ricocheting lead tore through storefronts as civilians scattered, ducking behind burning cars and overturned food carts. Deadshot vaulted over a sedan, landing behind cover. You always follow orders like a good little soldier? He called out. Bloodsport moved low, switching mags without looking. I follow smart orders. Joker dies, we lose the map to every bomb he's planted. Deadshot popped out and fired a tight spread aimed at the knees. Bloodsport slid behind a mailbox, rounds biting the metal inches from his leg. Not my problem. Someone paid me enough to save that clown. Bloodsport lunged from cover, spraying suppressing fire. Deadshot ducked behind a wrecked police car, his mask tracking every shot. The bullets chewed through the car door, glass cracking and metal popping. Deadshot rolled out low, arm raised. His wrist cannon launched a small grenade. It clinked once on the pavement. Bloodsport swore and dove sideways as the grenade burst in a flash of light and concussive force. The shockwave knocked him flat. His rifles clattered away. Deadshot moved fast, sprinting through the smoke, stepping over broken glass and bullet casings. He fired short bursts to pin Bloodsport down as he closed the distance. Bloodsport shook off the daze, blood dripping from his temple. He pulled a blade from his boot and flipped up, knife ready. Deadshot reached him. They collided hard. No words, just fists, elbows, and knees. Bloodsport slashed. Deadshot blocked with his armored forearm and countered with a knee to the gut. Bloodsport grunted but didn't go down. He swung the knife again, slicing Deadshot's side. Deadshot twisted, grabbed Bloodsport's wrist, and drove his head into Bloodsport's nose. Bloodsport staggered. Deadshot tried to go for the finishing shot, wrist cannon to the chest. But Bloodsport grabbed his arm and forced it upward. The cannon fired into the sky. With his free hand, Bloodsport slammed his knife into Deadshot's thigh. Deadshot cried out, staggered back, ripping the blade out. Bloodsport tackled him into a newsstand. Wood and paper flew. They rolled through the wreckage, each trying to get the upper hand. Deadshot got there first. He slammed his gauntlet into Bloodsport's jaw, once, twice, then pinned him with a knee to the chest. Joker, still gagged, still strapped, watched from where he lay on the pavement, grinning beneath the muzzle. Deadshot turned toward him. Bloodsport used that second to grab a broken plank from the ground and crack it across Deadshot's head. The mask held, but it knocked him sideways. But this flicker second was enough for Deadshot to throw an electric disc on the ground near Bloodsport's feet. Both men drew their guns at the same time, creating a tense standoff just 10 feet apart. They stood still, their chests heaving with heavy breaths. Then sirens, distant but closing in. Deadshot didn't lower his weapon. Bloodsport stared him down. "You walk now," Bloodsport growled. "Or we both die here." "I don't think so." Deadshot put his guns and Z-zap. The electric disc under Bloodsport's feet lit up. A pulse of blue energy exploded upward. Bloodsport screamed as the charge shot through his body. He dropped like a brick, smoking, shaking, nerves fried. His guns clattered across the ground. Deadshot stepped forward, limping from the knife wound in his thigh. He kept his gun trained on Bloodsport but didn't shoot. Not yet. Sirens were louder now. Police drones buzzed in overhead. Deadshot glanced up. 1 minute, maybe less, before they had eyes on everything. He looked over at Joker, still tied up, still gagged, lying on the hot pavement like a corpse at a crime scene. Joker's eyes danced. Even gagged, he was laughing. Deadshot walked over and grabbed Joker by the straps. "You better be worth it," he muttered. He pulled out a small black beacon, pressed it. A silent signal. Above, cloaked in clouds, a stealth transport decloaked just enough to reveal itself. Cable dropped. Deadshot snapped it to his belt. He gave Bloodsport one last look. "You'll live." Then the cable yanked him and Joker upward. Past, like a ghost vanishing into the sky. Seconds later, the transport was gone. The sirens finally arrived. Squad cars screeched in, doors flew open, and armed officers shouted commands. Drones hovered, scanning. But Deadshot was gone. Bloodsport lay on the street, coughing, burned, and pissed. He looked up at the smoke trail in the sky. "Damn it," he muttered, then passed out. Inside the stealth jet, Deadshot cut the Joker's restraints and then slumped against the metal wall, leaning back for support. A door slid open and Lex Luthor walked in. He was wearing a black suit, and his face showed no emotion as he glanced at the Joker and then at Deadshot. "You brought him in alive," Lex said. Deadshot nodded as he checked his wounds. "Just like you paid for." Lex turned to Joker and stepped closer. He studied him for a moment. "This is your big plan?" Lex asked. "Blowing up a city to kill Superman? You think some bomb will be enough to kill him?" Joker tilted his head. He started laughing. Hee-hee-heh. Ah-ha-ha-ha-ha. Loud, high-pitched, unhinged laughter. Lex didn't flinch. Joker leaned forward, grin wide, eyes gleaming. "Oh, Lexi, don't be so basic. It's not about blowing up a city. It's about turning your god into a monster." Lex raised an eyebrow. "Explain." Joker spoke slowly, clearly enjoying every word. "The bombs are real. Big, nasty things. But they won't go off unless someone touches them. Someone fast. Someone brave. Someone like Superman. Lex frowned. He'll try to disarm them. Of course, Joker said, almost clapping. He'll see the timer, hear the ticking, and like the Boy Scout he is, he'll grab it and throw it into the sky or fly far away. Joker leaned in. And that's when it explodes. You see, each bomb has a tiny whiny camera with Soup's face and suit as a trigger mechanism. Lex narrowed his eyes. What's inside the bomb? Joker smiled wider. Just a little dust. Kryptonite. Enough to weaken him. And a pinch of fear toxin. Not enough to kill him, but enough to make him see things. Feel things. Things he can't control. Lex was quiet. Joker giggled. He'll go crazy, Lex. He'll lose it. Punch holes through buildings. Maybe a few people. And then your precious Justice League? The Justice Society? They'll have one choice. Joker mimed a gun with his hand and pulled the trigger. Put him down. Lex looked at Joker for a long time. Then he turned to Floyd. Keep the clown alive. No matter what. Deadshot grunted. Yeah, got it. Joker leaned back, still grinning. It's gonna be a hell of a show. The aircraft flew into the clouds, disappearing into the sky. West Docks, Joker's old hideout. The building was a half-rotted warehouse tucked between a meat processing plant and a burned-out car lot. Seagulls circled overhead like little winged judgment machines. Rust coated the exterior walls. The front gate hung by one hinge. If buildings could sigh in disappointment, this one would be doing it hourly. Harley Quinn stood in front of it, chewing bubblegum and twirling a crowbar. On her back was a big school bag that she might have stolen on the way. Her expression was thoughtful, like she was trying to decide if she wanted to rob the place or set it on fire. Maybe both. All right, Mr. J, she muttered to herself. You went off the deep end. Again. Left your toy chest wide open. Shame on you. Now I gotta clean up after you. She kicked open the side door. It swung wide with a creak straight out of a horror movie. Inside, the air was stale and smelled like gunpowder, old grease paint, and betrayal. A crooked lamp buzzed in the corner. The place was mostly empty now. Someone had already swept through and taken the weapons. But Harley knew better than to think Joker kept all his goodies out in the open. She walked across the floor, boots echoing, eyes sharp. Money, 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 she sang quietly. Come on, Puddin'. Where'd you stash your piggy bank? She yanked a curtain aside. Nothing. Pulled open a file cabinet. Just clown makeup, old photographs, and 3 jars full of teeth. Gross, she said, slamming it shut. Then she noticed it. A smear of red on the floor. Smudged like someone dragged something heavy. Or someone. Her eyes followed the trail to a corner wall where a clown poster hung crookedly. Harley narrowed her eyes. You cheeky bastard. She ripped the poster down, revealing a keypad hidden behind a fake electric box. For digits. No labels. No hints. But she didn't need them. All of Joker's safe has the same number, and she knew it. She punched in 0401. The keypad beeped. Green light. The wall clicked. The secret panel opened. Behind it, jackpot. Stacks of bills bundled with Joker cards. Gold bars. Some stolen Wayne tech. A duffel bag of diamonds the size of marbles. And tucked in the back, a mannequin wearing one of Joker's old purple suits, complete with a rose in the lapel and a tiny pin that read, Kiss me. I bite. Harley gave a low whistle. Hello, retirement plan. She tossed aside the mannequin and started shoving cash into the bag. Her hands moved fast. Bills, coins, a couple of small vials of fear toxin, and one very confused wind-up penguin toy. She zipped the bag halfway when something caught her eye. Her very first handmade classic Harley costume. She took it and examined it for a few seconds before stuffing it into her bag. Harley spotted the metal barrels in the far corner as she zipped the duffel shut. Her eyes squinted through the gloom. Faded yellow labels. Black hazard symbols. Jackpot number 2, she muttered. Gasoline. She walked over, pried the lid off one, and gave it a sniff. Her nose wrinkled. Yup, That's the stuff. Harley grabbed a broken mop handle from the corner and used it to knock over one of the barrels. The gas glugged out in waves, soaking into the concrete floor like it was thirsty for revenge. She kicked over a second, then a third, dragging the trail across the room like she was painting with destruction. She walked to the center of the warehouse, pulled out a lighter from her jacket, and flicked it open. The flame wavered for a moment, then held steady. Her face glowed in the soft light. She looked back once. The old safe, the purple suit, the mannequin. "Goodbye, you manipulative, giggling asshole," she whispered. "No more rewind. No more shrine." She dropped the lighter. Flames erupted instantly. A wave of fire roared across the gasoline. It sprinted up the walls like it had been waiting for years. The air filled with smoke, heat, and the smell of Joker's legacy turning to ash. Outside, Harley stepped into the street as the windows blew out behind her. Glass and smoke poured into the air. She slung the duffel bag over her shoulder, her silhouette lit by orange firelight. She didn't look back. High above the city, a satellite feed picked up the bloom of heat. Inside the Batcave, Batman stood in front of a massive screen, his jaw tight. The image zoomed in. The figure was unmistakable. Blonde pigtails, red hoodie, Doffelbake, flames behind her like some chaotic goddess. "Harley," he said quietly. He tapped a command into his gauntlet. "Flash," Batman said through the comm.
Yo flasancer.
"You see the warehouse fire? Already on it. Harley Quinn is on foot. Alone. West Docks. Knock her out and bring her to the cave. Do it fast. Don't engage her in conversation." "You mean don't flirt with her?" "I mean don't waste time. Copy. Fast, quiet, and unconscious." "Got it." Batman closed the feed and turned back to the array of monitors showing Fawcett City. The bomb alerts were blinking red across the map. He found 10 bombs. One had just been confirmed by the worst possible source. Superman's voice came through the encrypted channel, tight and urgent. "I found one." Batman turned. "Location: Tony's Pizza, downtown." He paused, then added with a hint of something colder. "It's live." Without another word, Superman shot into the sky, breaking the sound barrier as he flew. Behind him, the clouds rippled, parting as he disappeared toward the heart of the city, toward the first bomb. A few minutes earlier, inside Tony's Pizza, John has a talk with Tony about the messy explosion at the delivery place and how he lost the bike there. That place was sealed. Tony said he had already talked to one of the local police. John can go there and pick up the bike, and he'll also get proper compensation for the dangerous situation he got caught in. But John asked for another job instead of the compensation for Harley. And well, he got one. She'll be in charge of cleaning the place. Then, he walked out of the shop and felt a weird, uneasy feeling. It's been a while since he felt this way. He looked around. His eyes darted everywhere. Then, a guy came riding on a bike, stopped near the shop, parked the bike, and simply ran away. He looked scared and was sweating buckets. John wanted to go after that guy, but his instinct told him that bike was bad news. There was a small bag strapped to the back seat. He quickly ran over there and carefully unzipped the bag, and inside was a bomb with a vial of green glowing liquid, a couple of wires, and a timer. It was a freaking bomb. Anyone in his place would have run away in fear, but he maintained his calm. Green liquid. Could it be kryptonite? Or some kind of toxin? Virus? Then he squinted his eyes and saw a tiny camera above the timer. Superman, at the same time, landed behind him. Everything was in motion now, and time was running out. Superman landed with barely a sound, the concrete beneath his boots cracking slightly from the force. John didn't turn around. He stayed near the bike, eyes fixed on the bomb. "Sir," Superman said, his voice calm and respectful, "I need you to step back slowly." John didn't move. His fingers hovered near the edge of the bag, careful not to touch anything. "It's rigged," John said without looking up. "Not just a regular bomb. Superman used his X-ray vision to look through John's body. He could already feel it. The green glow was unmistakable. Kryptonite, John added. And something else. I don't know what, but it's probably airborne. Toxin, virus, chemical agent, maybe. There's a vial right above the core. Superman's brow furrowed. His eyes narrowed, focusing in on the small camera embedded near the timer. How does he know? I'll ask him later. Need to focus on the bomb. There's a trigger, John said. Tiny camera facing up. The moment it recognizes your face, or maybe even just picks up your heat signature, it'll go off. Could be coded to your energy pattern. Whoever made this knew exactly how you work. Superman stayed where he was, fists clenched at his sides. If so, then the other explosives. He mumbled to himself. There are other bombs? John asked. If so, you heroes gotta be careful because you or the other heroes could be the trigger of those bombs, and that's not a good thing. So what now? Got a plan. Superman pressed 2 fingers to his earpiece, his eyes still locked on the bomb. Batman. It's confirmed. Kryptonite core, some form of nerve agent suspended in liquid, rigged with a sensor. It's camera-based, possibly also scanning for my biometric signature. Batman's voice came in through the comm, sharp and steady. Do not get any closer. It's a Kryptonian trigger bomb. I suspected this after Waller mentioned the stolen technology. The device is equipped with a DNA scanner. Facial recognition is just a decoy. The moment your molecular structure is picked up within range, it detonates. Superman took a slow step back. We have barely 3 minutes left. I'll just grab and throw it out of the Earth's atmosphere.
No.
Can't risk it. For all we know, that bag itself could be the trap. The moment you grab, it's all over. Put the guy before you on the comm, Batman said calmly. He has locked onto Superman's location and has the live feed before him. Superman tapped the earpiece, then looked at John. He wants to talk to you. You're the only one who can get close. John looked up, eyebrow raised. Seriously? Superman nodded and threw the comms over to him. It's either you or no one. If I even sneeze near it, we lose a few blocks. John caught the comm device and placed it in his ear. Go. Batman's voice came through clear, firm, and focused. This is Batman. I need you to focus and listen to my instructions, or else that entire block will blow up. You're dealing with a hybrid detonation system, kryptonite-based energy core, liquid dispersal toxin, and a pressure-sensitive circuit. Probably VX or a fear toxin derivative. Do not touch the vial. If it cracks, the gas will spread in seconds. John nodded once. Got it. Reach under the camera lens. There's a black pinhole beneath it. Stick a small flat object inside, gently, and tilt it left. It'll shut down the scanner. John pulled a knife from his boot. I've got a flat tip. Careful, Batman warned. Too much pressure and you'll snap the lens. You'll need to apply steady force until you hear a soft click. John moved the knife under the lens carefully. The blade touched the pinhole. He tilted it left. Click. The camera light blinked off. It's down. Now move to the bottom panel. Slide it open. There's a circuit cluster with 3 vertical wires. Blue, white, and green. Got it. Cut the white wire first. That shuts off the signal relay. John did it quickly. Next, green. That one disables the toxin dispersal. Done. Last one's blue. Count till 5 and cut on my signal. John counted under his breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now. John cut the blue wire. The device made a soft beep. Then silence. He leaned back, heart still steady, hand resting on his knee. It's dead. Superman finally took a step forward. John stood, handed back the comm. Batman's voice came through again. Well done. Superman looked at John, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. You've done this before. No, John said with his usual deadpan expression. Superman stared at the bomb for a moment and tapped his comms. This changes things. If Joker built these to react to me, then I can't be anywhere near the others. Batman's voice came through, calm and composed as always. You sit this one out. Flash has already defused 5. He also captured Harley Quinn. She's in the Batcave now. Superman's eyes flicked toward the sky for a brief second. Harley? John's expression shifted the moment he heard the name. Just slightly, his jaw tensed. He took a step forward and raised a hand toward Superman. Give me the calm. Superman looked at him, uncertain. Please, John said, voice low but firm. I need to tell Batman something, privately. Superman hesitated only a second, then handed him the device. John placed it in his ear again. It might be late, but I never thanked you for that night. Do you remember me? Silence on the line for a moment. Then Batman replied, the Lazarus Pit, the girl with the bullet in her skull. Yeah, I remember. John closed his eyes briefly. Then you know I'm not bluffing. There was a pause. Batman didn't respond immediately. The weight of what was coming hung in the air. John opened his eyes again, voice calm but steady. Don't hurt her. Don't lock her in some freezing cell. Don't play your interrogation games. No mental pressure. No cold silences or trauma triggers. You sit her down. You give her water and wait for me to come. She's dangerous, Batman said. She's not Joker, John replied. You know that. I can save her. Another pause. She's unstable and unpredictable, and thousands of lives are riding on this information. You think I care? Remember Kahndaq? People died every single day while you heroes and everyone here moved on with your lives. And now you hypocrites want to save lives, huh? Funny. Anyway, if she gets even a scratch on her, John said, his tone still polite but now terrifyingly calm, I'll kill you and everyone close to you. And I may not be able to face all the heroes, but I sure will go on a rampage and kill a few. Imagine the destruction. He didn't raise his voice, didn't yell. He didn't need to. So, think before you act. Batman finally spoke. Superman is right before you. He can try, John replied. There was a brief pause. Harley is important to me. She made my life a bit brighter. Fun. You want to stop the bombs? Let me talk to her. I'll give the locations and you leave us alone. Silence stretched on the line again. Then Batman responded. You've got one shot. A sudden rush of air whipped through the street as a red blur appeared, sending a swirl of dust and loose papers flying. The figure stopped with a dramatic skid just a few feet from John and Superman. Flash stood there with a grin on his face and Harley Quinn tucked under one arm like a wayward duffel bag. Her pigtails were wind-tangled, her oversized jacket flapping like a flag, and her face lit up the moment she spotted John. June! She shouted, wiggling out of Flash's grip and stumbling forward with a little spin. Oh, that was like riding a blender full of coffee and ice cream. I'm dizzy. Everything smells so funky. And I'm pretty sure I saw my soul do a backflip. John caught her by the shoulders before she collapsed. Are you all right? Harley blinked up at him, then grinned. Bats has the worst-smelling dungeon in the country. Damp walls, moldy tech, and not a single air freshener. What kind of stupid doesn't have a lavender diffuser? Flash crossed his arms, still catching his breath despite the speed. You're welcome, by the way. Yeah. Speedy McZoom, Harley said, waving him off. Now scram. Adults are talking. John ignored the exchange. Harley, he said firmly, eyes locked on hers. I need something. It's important. She raised an eyebrow, then straightened up a little. Whoa, serious voice. Okay, shoot. The bombs. The ones Joker planted around the city. Do you know where they are? Harley blinked, then slapped her forehead so hard she staggered back. Oh crap. Crap on a cracker. I totally forgot. Flash sighed and rubbed his face. John didn't flinch. Harley. She looked sheepish, rubbing her temples with both hands. I'm such a moron. I meant to tell you. I even had a list written in lipstick and everything. Then I got distracted by, shooting, explosions, rain, and you being weirdly hot in sweatpants. John took a breath. Do you remember where they are? Harley perked up like someone had turned on a switch. Yup, most of them, anyway. Joker used a pattern. Old haunts, personal jokes, places he thought were symbolic. I already burned down the warehouse and took what I could from his stash. But I saw the map. I remember the targets. She stepped back and started counting on her fingers. Okay, one was the pizza shop. You found that one. Go you. Then the hospital near 12th and Beck. A library uptown, big fancy one. An old amusement park on the edge of the city, the one with the broken carousel. A police memorial statue. A courthouse. The news station, the subway hub, and the toy factory. She paused, trying to remember. Oh, and a petting zoo. Don't ask me why. Joker hates goats. I think it's the eyes. Flash pulled out his comm and relayed the list at super speed. John watched Harley carefully. That all of them? Harley squinted. I think so. But knowing that sick bastard, he probably hit a few. You got people scanning, right? Superman nodded. Good, Harley said. Because if I'm wrong, and a school explodes because I forgot, I'll never forgive myself. John placed a hand on her shoulder. You did good. Harley beamed, then immediately leaned her head against his chest. Don't let them take me away again, she mumbled. No worries, they won't, John whispered to her while hugging her. He then looked up at Superman. You got what you want. So, hurry up and never interfere with us again. Batman spoke in Flash and Superman's comms. Harley's telling the truth. Flash, run. What about these two? You are just going to let them go? Flash asked. Yes, now get to it. Flash ran away with a streak of lightning. Superman flew up into the sky with a sigh. John looked at Harley. Let's hit the supermarket before going home. However, as they turned around, boom, John sighed. Not again. They turned back and saw Superman lying in the crater. In the sky was a silver cyborg with a green glowing chest. Ooh, Metallo, Harley said, looking up. You know that thing? He asked. Yup, he always tries to kill Supes and fails. And we should run, Harley said as she was already dragging John by his hand. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Superman's body twitched as he climbed out of the fresh crater, smoke curling from his cape. His boots dragged through broken concrete as he stood upright, fists clenched, face tense. He barely had a second to breathe. Then the scream hit. A shrieking wall of sound roared across the plaza, shattering every window within 3 blocks. Superman's eyes squeezed shut. His knees buckled. His hands went to his ears, but it didn't help. The sonic assault came from above. Silver Banshee, floating in midair like a banshee goddess of death, unleashed another hell wave straight at him. Her white hair lashed around her head like snakes in a storm. Her eyes glowed with cursed energy. Her mouth stayed wide open as the scream only intensified. Superman tried to rise again, muscles straining. His body trembled from the resonance in the air, his eardrums bleeding slightly. Then came the next blow. Crackling zap lit up the sky. Livewire dropped in like a lightning bolt, arms raised. Her body pulsed with pure electricity, skin glowing blue with raw current. Oh, look what we have here, she laughed, voice sharp as static. The big blue batteries looking a little drained. Superman barely turned in time. Livewire launched a concentrated lightning beam straight into his chest. The impact lit up the entire street like a nuclear flash. Superman flew backward, smashed into a delivery truck, and dropped to one knee, smoke rising from his chest. His suit sizzled. Metallo landed with a tichoam, cracking the pavement. His green kryptonite core pulsed rhythmically in the center of his chest. He took slow, heavy steps toward Superman. You always get back up? Metallo growled, his mechanical jaw clicking with each word. But this time, there's nowhere to run. No league. No bat. Just you and us. He raised one glowing arm and fired a kryptonite energy blast. It slammed into Superman's side, sending him skidding across the asphalt, carving a trench through the road. He gasped as his body bounced, then came to a stop against a pile of rubble. Green veins spread briefly across his skin before fading. "Arg!" Superman grunted, eyes burning red for a moment. He fired heat vision toward Banshee. She shrieked again. The sonic burst collided with the laser in midair and shattered it like glass. The backlash knocked Superman's head sideways. Livewire surged forward, leaping into the air and slamming both fists into his chest. Electricity coursed through him again. Superman arched his back, teeth gritted against the pain. 2 blocks away, behind a corner, Harley and John ducked behind an old taco joint, watching the chaos from behind a broken billboard that read, "Try our new spicy quesarito," now partially on fire. Harley peeked out from behind the building, eyes wide. "Whoa, that's a whole villain buffet menu, right there," she whispered. "We got Screaming Dead Elsa, the Sparkle Bitch, and Robo-Kryptonite over there doing the Terminator walks into a nightclub routine." John didn't say anything. He was already calculating angles, scanning the scene. Harley kept whisper commentating. "Soups looks like he just walked outta an oven and fell down the stairs. That Scream girl, Banshee? I had brunch with her once. She cried when the waffles were cold." She turned to John. "I'm just saying, this is not looking good for old Clarky." "You know his real name?" John asked. "Yep. Mr. J found out last month," Harley replied. Back in the street, Superman forced himself upright. Blood leaked from one ear, multiple scratch and burn marks on his face. His chest was burned and cracked, but his eyes still glowed faintly red. "You're not winning this," he growled. Metallo lunged. Superman sidestepped at the last second and uppercut him in the jaw. The metal head twisted with a sickening clang. Superman followed with a heat vision to Livewire, forcing her to retreat midair. But she easily countered it with her electricity. Boom! The clash of their power caused a mini explosion in the midair. Superman was weak, so it was pretty much easy for her to counter it. But it cost him. Banshee dropped like a missile, landed behind him, and drove her elbow into his spine. Superman roared in pain and collapsed again. Metallo grabbed his cape and flung him through a building. Brick and steel exploded outward as Superman's body flew through walls and debris. Livewire hovered above the rubble, cackling. "Hey Metallo, you think if we break all his bones, we get a bonus?" "Focus," Metallo replied, stomping after Superman through the debris. His core pulsed with growing light. Superman pushed himself up inside the wrecked building. Glass in his arm, smoke in his lungs. Every inch of his body screamed in protest. But he stood anyway. Well, he staggered forward, his knees barely holding. Metallo was almost on him, the green glow from his chest flooding the rubble-filled room. Livewire hovered outside, electricity crackling in her palms. Silver Banshee floated overhead, building her next scream. Then, a gust of wind howled through the city. A swirling cyclone ripped through the avenue, twisting debris and trash into a spiraling tunnel of force. Livewire's sparks flickered as the wind disrupted her charge. "What the?" she shouted, caught mid-hover. From the heart of the storm, a figure descended. Red-streaked hair, green suit, arms spread like a conductor in a symphony of destruction. Maxine Hunkel, Cyclone. "Sorry, I'm late," she called out. Traffic blew. With a wave of her arm, she launched the tornado at Livewire. The wind caught her mid-flight, slamming her sideways into a parked bus. The vehicle flipped from the force, sending Livewire tumbling across the street, sparking wildly. "You little weather witch!" Livewire screamed, barely catching herself mid-air. "That's Dr. Weather Witch to you," Cyclone quipped, already summoning another blast. Meanwhile, the building behind Metallo exploded. Wonder Woman burst through the back wall in a blur of red, blue, and silver. She lunged forward with her shield, slamming it into Metallo's back. The metal man crashed forward, his legs dragging sparks along the pavement as he tried to catch himself. Superman looked up, dazed, his eyes locked with hers. "Diana, get clear," she said without hesitation. "You're hurt. We'll handle this. Be careful," he mumbled with great difficulty. She didn't wait. She was already moving. Metallo twisted around, his chest cannon charging. Wonder Woman leapt over the beam and brought her sword down on his shoulder. Sparks flew. The blade didn't cut through, but it left a gouge deep in his plating. Metallo roared, swinging at her with a crushing fist. She ducked, pivoted, and slammed her shield into his jaw. Metal bent. Wires sparked. Behind her, a scream rose. Silver Banshee descended, hair whipping, eyes glowing. Wonder Woman turned just as the sonic wave hit her. The shield came up in time. The scream smashed against it, shattering everything for blocks. The building crumbled. Cars exploded. Diana gritted her teeth, holding firm. "You think I haven't fought banshees before?" she growled. She hurled her shield like a discus. It flew straight into Banshee's chest, knocking her backward through a crumbling wall and into the side of a burning truck. Diana caught the shield on the rebound, turned, and met Metallo's charge. He fired his chest beam. She rushed forward with her enhanced speed and punched him hard enough to send him sprawling across the pavement. At the same time, Cyclone clashed midair with Livewire. The sky above them flashed blue and green, streaks of lightning tangled with ribbons of wind. "You're gonna short out your own brain," Cyclone shouted as she twisted a cyclone around Livewire's legs. "I am electricity, idiot," Livewire screamed, lashing out with a bolt that ripped a hole in a nearby billboard. "You're unstable electricity," Maxine snapped back, spinning faster. The whirlwind pulled Livewire upward, spinning her like a rag doll before launching her into a water tower. The entire top half of the structure burst open. Water poured over Livewire, dousing her completely. She dropped like a stone, smoke rising from her clothes. Sparks flickered and died. On the ground, Superman leaned against a cracked metal pole that somehow survived despite all the destruction, trying to catch his breath. Wonder Woman stood tall, shield raised again as Metallo and Banshee regrouped. "You cannot win," she said, voice cold. "Stop this meaningless destruction and surrender peacefully." Banshee hissed. Metallo's core pulsed brighter. Behind the chaos, Cyclone floated gently to the ground beside Superman, offering him a steadying hand. "How bad?" she asked softly. "Bad," he admitted. "A couple of broken bones, ruptured left eardrum and cracked arm." Sparks were shooting from the gash in Metallo's shoulder. His mechanical arm twitched violently, servomotors whining. His jaw hung slightly off-center, clicking as he tried to reset it. "You think this is over?" he growled, voice distorted and glitching. One of his eyes flickered red. His core pulsed erratically now, surging with unstable kryptonite energy. A few sparks shot from his back vents, and the sound of strained hydraulics groaned with every movement. He took one slow step forward, dragging a foot through broken asphalt. "This was just the pre-show," Metallo said, spitting static. "The fun has only just begun." Behind him, the ground shook. Once, twice. Then came a deafening boom as a massive hand slammed down onto the street behind Banshee. The second hand followed. Then, rising like a building being born from the earth, came Giganta. She was 50 feet tall, wearing torn combat leggings and a tank top barely clinging to her giant boobs. Her muscles bulged with every step, tattoos stretched across her biceps. Her boots cracked the pavement as she stepped over a wrecked bus. She cracked her neck and looked down at the battlefield like it was a game board. "Ah, you didn't wait for me?" she said with a half-smile. Her voice rumbled like distant thunder. Wonder Woman turned, eyes narrowing. "Of course," Diana muttered. Giganta grinned. "I've been itching for a good throwdown, and it looks like you're just my size." She stepped forward, raising a fist the size of a car. Behind a half-collapsed building 2 blocks away, Harley peeked again. Now, with a crumbled slushy cup she'd somehow scavenged from a broken vending machine, straw still in her mouth. John crouched beside her, silent and unmoved, eyes tracking every threat. Harley looked from Giganta to Superman slumped against a pole, then to Metallo twitching like a broken vacuum cleaner, then back up at Cyclone spinning a wind tunnel to keep the collapsing buildings from taking out more civilians. She slowly backed away from the edge. "So, this is a superhero war," she said flatly. John didn't answer. He was already watching Giganta size up Wonder Woman like a kid scoping out a piñata. Harley pointed with the straw. "See that? That's a 50-foot walking trauma response who just turned downtown into a Godzilla sequel. And she's screaming like her Spotify playlist failed. Robo Sparky over there is 2 sparks away from meltdown. Sparkles just fried herself in a water tower like overcooked shrimp." She turned to John with wide eyes. "Babe, we need to go." Still no answer. "I'm serious. I've seen some insane things. I've seen Mr. J once getting shot in the knee by a midget dressed as Cupid. I've danced with a bazooka at a Christmas rave. But this," she pointed again, "this is above my pay grade. I don't even have health insurance." She grabbed his arm, shaking it. "We need to exit, evacuate, vanish. Call it what you want. But unless I'm turning into She-Harley and slapping skyscrapers for fun, I don't belong here." John exhaled once through his nose. "You're not wrong. You think," she barked, "you think I want to get body slammed by a size 22 boot while she's yelling about estrogen and rage therapy?" She gestured wildly at the chaos. "This is what I get for eating everything. I should have known. We went out for eggs and now the sky is on fire." John and Harley sprinted down the cracked sidewalk, dodging debris and the occasional panicked civilian. The sounds of battle echoed behind them, followed by the shattering of glass, the crunching of metal, and the groaning of buildings under the weight of the chaos they had left behind. "We make it to the apartment. I'm building a pillow fort and never leaving," Harley huffed, breath short but steady. "Let's just get there first," John muttered. They turned the corner onto 7th Street and stopped dead. A neon pink motorcycle leaned perfectly balanced against a toppled lamp post. It was clean, untouched, like it had just been parked in the middle of an apocalypse. Sitting on it, legs crossed and posture straight, was a man in a blinding pink coat. He tilted his head as if practicing for a scene in front of a mirror. He wore white gloves and shiny boots. A red smudge marked his cheek, and it wasn't lipstick. Harley immediately backstepped. Her face lost all color. "Shit," she whispered. "Shit, shit, shit. It's him." "A friend of yours?" John asked. "That's Eduardo Flamingo. Acá el Flamingo. He's not like the rest of them. Freak's a cannibal. He eats people, Johnny. Faces. He eats their faces." John didn't blink. "What's with the coat?" Harley babbled. "It's always pink. It's his thing. I think it keeps the blood from showing. I don't know. Never asked. Must be a weirdo with weird fetishes. Not that I'm judging. Everyone got their own fetishes." Flamingo slowly uncrossed his legs and stepped off the motorcycle. He adjusted his coat and gloves, then broke into a wide smile. The smile revealed too many teeth, too white, with no joy, only a sense of hunger. "I was wondering how long it would take for you to show your lovely face, Harlequinita," he said with a thick accent. "My compliments, by the way. You made quite the statement." Harley's voice dropped to a whisper. "Don't talk. Don't engage. Just back up." Flamingo kept walking forward, boots clicking against the fractured pavement. "You're puddin'," he's quite upset. "Imagine my surprise when the Joker himself calls me up and says, 'Go find my girl. Make that bitch pay.' And he said you did it, little butterfly." Harley tried to fake a grin, but her voice cracked slightly.
Au, smon, edi.
That was a love tap, a warning. You know how it is with exes. Tempers, drama, shootin' the old kneecaps. Flamingo's grin didn't waver. He tilted his head like a curious animal. You shot him in the ass. I had good aim, she said weakly. You embarrassed him, made him bleed. Thanks to you, he was captured and tortured by Waller. Luckily, he escaped and I got the job. I've always wondered, how would Harley Quinn's face taste? Flamingo said with a sick grin as his eyes went toward John. And you must be her new chew toy. Came for one and found two. Lucky me. I'm not a fan of pink, John said flatly. Flamingo laughed softly, like someone humming at a funeral. I won't kill you quickly, he said, but I'll make sure she hears it when I carve off your lips. Harley's hand searched her jacket. Nothing. No gun or blade. Not even a fork. Damn that bats. He took everything. Ark, we are in a deep shit, aren't we? John, she whispered. I got nothing. He didn't answer. His eyes were already locked on Flamingo's hands. Flamingo reached into his coat. 2 glints of metal flashed. John shouted, "Down!" Gunfire erupted instantly. Harley screamed and dove as bullets tore through the air. The crushed remains of a nearby sedan exploded with sparks and glass as the 2 of them hit the ground and rolled behind it. Bullet holes chewed through the frame, each shot coming with eerie, measured rhythm. Flamingo's voice called out from behind the smoke. I brought my appetite today. Don't make me chase you. Harley clutched John's arm, eyes wide. This guy doesn't stop. He once chased a woman across 2 states just to finish a bite. John peeked over and ducked as a round whistled past his face. Smoo. Harley, you got nothing, he yelled. Nope. Bats took everything, even my freaking bubblegum. Harley yelled back. But hey, ain't this scene kind of familiar? But with more danger than before. Bullets flying at us. Another lunatic is shooting at us. We can't go forward thanks to that pinky freaky face eater. We can't go backward because that giant freak might stomp us to pulp. The only thing left is an explosion. A big bang. John pressed his back to the ruined sedan, bullets still chewing through the metal inches above his head. He glanced at Harley, who was curled beside him with wide eyes and blood pumping behind her temples. This, he said between breaths, is what happens when you do bad things. Harley lowered her gaze to the ground and pouted, rolling her finger on the ground. Sorry. Harls always get you in trouble. Before he could answer, a small metal object clinked against the pavement. Both of them looked down. A grenade rolled to a stop between their feet. Oh, come on, Harley muttered. John didn't hesitate. He grabbed her by the waist and rolled them both out from behind the car just as the grenade exploded. The force lifted them off the ground and flung them into the street like rag dolls. The blast rang in their ears. Everything went white for a moment. John hit the ground hard. His body skipped once, then stopped. His vision blurred. A high-pitched whine buzzed in his head. He blinked, trying to see through the smoke, but the world felt underwater. Harley groaned somewhere nearby. She coughed and sat up, holding her head. John rolled onto his stomach. His limbs felt like rubber. His head throbbed, but he pushed himself up, shaking off the dust and wringing as best he could. Then he saw him through the haze. Eduardo Flamingo stepped forward, his smile gone. He tossed his empty guns aside like trash, and the twin clatters echoed down the street. Beneath his coat, he pulled out a chain whip. It unraveled with a metallic hiss as it hit the ground, the links clinking, and the end tipped with a serrated hook. John's hands curled into fists. His ribs ached. His vision still swam. Harley blinked, blood running down the side of her temple, watching Flamingo slowly roll his neck like he was warming up for a dance. Great, she muttered, spitting blood. Now he wants to play butcher. Flamingo spun the chain once in a slow circle beside him. You embarrassed the clown, he said. Now I get to peel the apology off your face. But before that, I'm gonna enjoy beating the shit out of you than your new man. He cracked the whip once, sparks dancing across the pavement. John's vision cleared just enough to see her. Harley was slumped against a cracked fire hydrant, blood dripping from her forehead, streaking down the side of her face. Her right arm was smeared in red. Her lip was split. She blinked slowly, like she was trying to stay conscious through the pain. He crawled to her. Flamingo's boots clicked closer in the background, the chain whip dragging behind him. John reached out and touched her lip gently. Blood. Something inside him cracked and then snapped. A silence engulfed his mind, bringing a clarity that only emerged in moments when all reason faded away. He didn't hear the whip or see the street. All he could see was Harley, bleeding. She looked up at him with dazed eyes. "Johnny?" He gripped her shoulders and leaned in close. "You're gonna be okay," he said quietly. "Just hang on." She blinked, barely nodding. He cupped her face. His voice dropped even lower. "You don't need to worry about him. I'm gonna kill that freak. Slowly. I'm gonna break every inch of his body. And then we're going home." Harley's lips trembled. "You serious?" "Yeah, but you have to promise not to hide food under the couch." "It's just nasty," John said with a serious expression. "There are rats. You could get sick." He stood. His muscles screamed, but he didn't care. The pain was nothing. His vision sharpened. His breathing slowed. His heart felt cold. Flamingo stopped 10 feet away, grin creeping back. "Such passion," he said with a tilt of the head. "How romantic. It'll make your face taste even better." John cracked his neck and sighed. Flamingo stopped mid-step, the chain whip swinging slowly at his side. John stood in front of him, blood on his face, hands loose at his sides, expression unreadable. "How good are you at flying?" John asked calmly. Flamingo's smile twitched. "Excuse me?" John tilted his head slightly, rain starting to fall around them. Slow drops at first, soaking into the dust and blood of the street. "I asked," John repeated, eyes locked on his. "How good are you at flying?" Flamingo laughed, loud and sharp. "Have you lost your goddamn mind? Beg me. Scream for mercy. What the hell are you talking about?" He cracked the whip forward. It shot like a serpent through the air, wrapping around John's throat with a tight snap of metal. Flamingo yanked it hard. John stumbled forward, the lynx digging into his skin. Harley screamed behind them. "Johnny!" Flamingo grinned. "You will beg for mercy." Lightning cracked across the sky like a celestial gunshot. John looked up. Rain poured down in sheets now. He clenched his fists around the chain and didn't flinch. His voice dropped to a whisper. "SHAZAM!" The lightning came down like judgment. A thunderclap split the sky as a bolt of divine electricity slammed into John, engulfing his body in a blinding white gold flash. The street lit up brightly for one brief second, and when the light faded, John wasn't the same. His tattered clothes were gone, replaced with a black and gold suit. A bolt-shaped emblem pulsed on his chest. Gold bracers crackled with power at his wrists. His eyes glowed faintly. His skin gleamed like obsidian carved by a god. The chain whip sizzled in his hand, melted from the sheer heat radiating off him. Flamingo stumbled back. What the hell?" Luckily, he dropped the chain as soon as he saw the lightning, or else he'd be toast by now. "Is this some kind of magic show?" He took out his signature dual submachine guns from his coat and began to shoot with a maniacal laughter. John didn't blink. The bullets hit his chest like pebbles against armor. They sparked, flattened, and dropped to the pavement one by one. The sound echoed across the empty street, but John didn't move. His expression didn't change. His cape whipped behind him in the wind. His fists remained at his sides. Flamingo screamed with frustration and kept firing. Be already. What the hell are you?" The clips emptied. The guns clicked dry. John stepped forward. Flamingo backpedaled, tossing the weapons aside. He reached for something else inside his coat, but John was already in front of him. One hand closed around Flamingo's wrist. The bones crunched instantly. "Arg!" Flamingo screamed and tried to twist away, but John pulled him in with a single motion. He slammed a glowing fist into Flamingo's gut. The sound was dull and sickening, like metal folding in on itself. Flamingo doubled over, breath gone, eyes wide with shock. He made sure to control his power because Flamingo must feel pain 1,000 times more than what Harley felt. "You like pain," John said, his voice low and thunderous. "Here's a dose." He brought his other fist around, driving it into Flamingo's ribs. The pink-coated killer flew back like a broken doll, smashing into the side of a bus. The metal crumpled inward. Flamingo's body slumped to the ground. He tried to get up, dazed, blood dripping from his mouth. He reached for a knife, slow and trembling. John grabbed him by the collar and lifted him off the ground like a piece of trash. Flamingo tried to jam the knife into John's throat, but the metal simply broke. "I don't get it. Why use a knife when bullets don't even work? Damn you, freak!" Flamingo punched John and broke his fist in the process. "I'll eat your face even if I have to crawl out of hell." HAAA. John sighed, seeing the stupidity. "Face eater. Huh? Let's see how you do without yours." He flipped Flamingo up, grabbed his leg with his left hand, and flew into the sky with a loud boom. The rain peeled away around him, a cone of vapor forming at his shoulders as he broke through the lower clouds. Flamingo dangled in his grip, flailing, his pink coat snapping in the wind, his screams lost to the altitude. The city shrank beneath them, the clouds thinned, and the temperature dropped. John's grip tightened around Flamingo's ankle like a steel vice. Flamingo clawed at his chest, trying to speak, but the air was thin. His eyes bulged. His mouth opened in a silent gasp. John stopped. Still holding him upside down by the leg, John hovered. The wind was gone. It was quiet now, just the distant roar of the storm far below. Flamingo wheezed, clawing at nothing, trying to breathe. His body trembled in the cold. His eyes rolled, panic finally setting in. John looked down at him with a calm, unreadable face. "Are you perhaps in pain? I thought you enjoyed pain," John said with a cold expression. "It would seem you want oxygen, huh? I'll let you go." Flamingo gasped, confused, trying to pull in what little oxygen there was. John looked out at the stars, then back down to the city far below. "You'll have about 3, maybe 4 seconds before gravity takes over. That's more than enough air." Flamingo's mouth opened. He tried to speak, but it came out as a raspy wheeze. John didn't blink. "But here's the thing," he continued. "You'll fall too fast for your brain to catch up. Your lungs will scream. Your body won't know which way is up. And before you even remember how to beg," he let go, "you'll hit the ground face first. Back to the ground. Splat." "Eek," Harley gasped, seeing the human splatter in a pink coat. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere. John flew down beside Harley. "I think I got some slushy in my mouth," she said with her mouth open.
And that concludes this episode. If you enjoyed it, I'd seriously love it if you guys could leave a like on the video, as it genuinely helps out so much, and it keeps me going. Plus, it takes only 1 second. That said, have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.